Hello and welcome to the Nen Show Podcast, the only podcast with a 50%. What was I going to say? Oh, introduction success rate. I guess it's going down now. Fuck. This is Craftsdwarf. And here is my co-host, Mathwiz. Say hello.
How's it going, everybody?
Yeah. So I guess we're just getting ready. Technical issues? Nope, none to say because nothing's changed. Okay. I was like, wait, we do something else before we go into comments, don't we? And it's, okay. So anyway, comments. Do you have any you want to talk about? Because I definitely do.
I just want to thank that guy for who said to go check out the official translation.
Ray,
because there was some very entertaining
translation,
sometimes aggravating. What is it? Localizations. Yes, that's the word.
We'll definitely get into them. Well, one that's definitely not very significant. That it's like Lee comes in and he's the or what did he say? Well, I mean, like if you've read the manga, even you've probably seen the volume cover with Lee in green.
We used it in the one thumbnail.
Yeah, and of course, if you watch the anime, which most people get in, but yeah, he comes in. And he's the handsome blue beast, and it's blue. Exactly. But as for why that mistranslation happened, I explained it to Mathwas in private. Basically, in more older times, in Eastern culture, blue and green were considered two different shades of the same color. Kind of like how in Western culture, red and orange were considered two shades of the same color. That's why we say red-haired, even though if you have red hair, it's actually more of an orange usually. So, the example I always think of is Aokigahara, which is the infamous suicide forest. But I always remember it because it's in the name, Ao, blue. But it's a forest. It would be called green. So that's how I always remember it. But yeah, so I imagine Lee used Ao to refer to his color, and then they just sort of blue. They didn't even think about it really. So I don't know. I don't know how the manga translation scene goes. I know it does have to be pretty fast these days because they translate it they have it translated the day the chapter comes out now on Shounen Jump at least. So, and I haven't really been paying attention to lots of official releases lately, so I don't know if... I hope translations have improved, and I imagine they have. There seems to be more trust in the audience these days, I feel. Back then, it's the big blaring warnings in the beginning of every volume, or at the end of every volume saying, you're reading the wrong way because you're a dumbass and you don't know this is Japan. What were you going to say?
Well, I would think... I mean, I don't know much about, the manga translation industry, but, I would think if, nowadays, if they're putting things out, just... translating new chapters, if there's anything that was incorrect for the full volume releases, wouldn't they maybe go back and fix it?
So yeah, I do hope official translation has gotten better. Okay, what other comments did we have to discuss? The Green Hill Nerd suggested that we watch Swagkage's videos, and I haven't seen any of them. I think you've mentioned one of them at least. You've probably seen a couple, I imagine.
Yeah, I have seen I watched them all up to a point. So he talked most of his, they link to the explaining stuff, so explaining the powers and whatnot. So I looked up all the stuff about
it's a Wikipedia
the different
entry,
eyes and all the different ability stuff. So I've seen some of it, but that's just not the type of content that interests me. I don't care.
Yeah, more really.
I'm not a big power guy.
Analytical video. But what I was going to say on that is don't we already bring up Mysteria Fusion enough? Don't we? So what is that what we need another person to bring up constantly in our discussions,
If you want me to bring up Swagkage, go watch my Boruto and Naruto videos. I bring them up there.
Yeah. I mean, I think his point is that so we could be less confused on things, but the confusion is part of the experience. Because I think in the comments someone else said that if the two of us together are confused on something, then either sure there are times where we both fuck up, and there are most of it seems to be misremembering things that happen later, which is fair, and it's not really. But then if we're genuinely confused on something like Orochimaru's motivation, then it's Kishimoto's fault for not explaining it properly, And that's
I know there was the one instance where we weren't sure what happened with the Kazekage, but then in the very next story arc they explained it. So it was
that's
just stuff that hasn't been said yet. And certain things, we'll remember from reading future chapters.
Right, like, I mean,
like,
obviously Itachi being secretly good is a major thing that we're definitely not going to forget, but then, like, yeah, the Kazekage, we're not going to fucking remember something little like that. So, yeah. Anyway, Sigil Breaker, he had a big-ass comment. Well, for one, I like how he used Mega Neko Sharingan instead of Mangekyo.
Yes.
which I thought was great, because it's perfect. It's like, yes, that's exactly what I want, a giant cat with Sharingan. Or also Mega Neko, I think, can refer to, like, Glasses Girl. Yeah, Mega Neko. So, Sarada, I guess, would be a Mega Neko. Because she's got glasses and she's got Sharingan. She's the perfect Mega Neko Sharingan. Sarada is the Boruto character, right? I'm not misremembering?
Yes, yeah. You are correct.
Okay. I haven't touched Boruto, so I'm only, I'm only at a distance with that. But anyway, he also said something about...
I don't know if I want to say whose child it is, because that's technically spoilers, but I don't know if anyone cares.
I think I know, because I remember talking to my friend when those chapters were coming out. It was fucking stupid, but we'll get to that in the last episode of the Naruto Nen Show. But anyway, he wanted to point out that the thing with Itachi and Sasuke with hatred, there might be some nuances to the original Japanese that was lost on translation. Maybe it was repeated again this arc, so I'm not sure. But maybe we don't understand the full context because translation. I don't know. Anyway, what do you have? Do you have any more comments or?
See, usually my issue with these comments is that, like, I see them and I'm like, oh, I could respond to this, but then I'm like, wait, no, we do that in the podcast, so I'll wait. And then I like don't write them down or anything. Or,
I do.
Keep
that's
track
why I
of
always
which
remember.
ones.
Yeah, I always write them down, but because I have one more, but it segues perfectly into the actual discussion, so I was gonna hold that one for last.
Well, I know there was a comment by Fidelio.
It might be the one that I want to respond to.
Okay, then I will just leave that to you.
Is it on female characters? Because that's the one I want to respond
yeah.
to. Okay, okay. Well, if you don't have any other ones, we can do that one right now.
Yeah, next time I'll just be more prepared. I'll actually keep track of the stuff I want to reply to.
Okay, yeah. So anyway, yeah, he says that he does shonen series shouldn't need strong female characters, and I disagree, because if they have female character, like, okay, well, for starters, when I say strong female character, like, I mean, when I say it personally, I mean good female character. I don't particularly care if they're actually like a good fighter or a strong role model. I just want a good character, and sometimes weak characters are good, so my problem with shonen series is that usually they'll have female characters and they'll say, like, look, isn't she isn't she a fight girl? But then she's actually, like, useless, like Sakura. She's supposed to be the third one next to Naruto and Sasuke, but then here she is, not doing anything this arc, as usual. Or, and then there's an infamous moment from later on where she gets, like, a power boost and she's like, I'm not gonna fall behind you two again. And then, that same fucking chapter, Sasuke saves her. Like, right after, like, this is supposed to be her fucking moment, and she's still just getting saved by the others, and it's just like,
I know, like, you're not too familiar with Full Metal Alchemist, but, like, I know when I think of, like, a strong female character that is not physically strong, I think of Winry from that series, just because, like,
okay,
she's not, like, a fighter, she doesn't actually contribute much, but she, like, I don't know, she has a well-defined personality.
So she's able to offer some things that I don't remember if that has any major story relevance, but
I don't know, I didn't want to go too in-depth on that, because we'll get to it eventually, but that's just an example of kind of what we're talking about.
But the other thing is, like, he mentions a few other series in comparison, like, doesn't this series also have problems? And it's like, yeah, so we'll get to those when we get to those series, but the other thing is that, like, some shonen series, like Bleach or Haikyuu, they have, like, or Inuyasha or Rurouni Kenshin, they have these huge female demographics, so it's not as though girls aren't reading these stories. Because shonen isn't just, like, for boys. It's shonen and seinen can also be general audience terms, so without a gender. That's a thing. I would still say Shonen Jump is primarily targeted to boys, but that doesn't mean, like, it's also the biggest magazine, so of course it's going to have a lot of cross-gender interest. But, so, like, and then speaking on Naruto again, I do think, like, he has an interesting way of fucking up with his female characters. Like, it's unique. he's doing something, and that's kind of like that's the secret arc to the Nen Show podcast. We're going to be talking about how all these authors fuck up their female characters uniquely. It's just so. Anyway, so yeah, going into the actual discussion because we start. Okay, what did you think about this scene where Shikamaru was talking with his dad about women?
I mean, it's kind of obvious that, like, Shikamaru, I mean, like, he's, I don't know exactly what, like, the stance on him is, because,
well, he definitely
obviously
seems, go on?
Like, his mindset is far more, like, traditional, but, like, I mean, his father is there to kind of point out, like, hey, you're just a child, you're just kind of dumb.
Yeah,
so,
but
like,
it's like, yeah, that's the thing, because Shikamaru is just being all sexist and stuff, and, which is, I'm fine with a sexist character, as long as it's commented upon, but then his dad is like, he's trying to be like, hey, Shikamaru, you need to respect women. They give, like, birth and stuff, I guess. Like, what he offers is not exactly, like, the best. And I read that, and then later I read the comments, and I couldn't help but think that, this is why we talk about this on Naruto. Because Kishimoto has... maybe he has... I don't know, he fucks up in a very interesting way. Because it's just, I don't know, I just read the scene, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, yeah, he's trying to say, like, oh yeah, men need women, but so women exist for the sake of men. Is that what he's trying to say?
Yeah, the way he, like, phrases it, it's like he's supposed to be the counter argument to Shikamaru, to what Shikamaru says.
But his counter argument is still shit.
Yeah, that's the problem. So it's like, so is Shikamaru supposed to be correct? Is that what we're implying?
Or is his dad, like, either way is not. It's not very. Neither option looks very favorable on Kishimoto. So yeah, that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. So anyway, Tsunade comes in and she does her healing magic. She's saving everyone. She's the best ninja doctor, except Lee, who she can't kind of save, but she can because she saves him.
What was interesting, I mean, like, in this early part of the story, because I've said before that I've seen the anime, so there were scenes that were filler that I didn't realize were filler, like when Tsunade first arrives to the village and she's, like, becoming Hokage. The interesting thing about the manga is that she gets there and she's just kind of fine with it, and she's just Hokage. Like, before she was kind of like, we saw this, like, aspect of her where she's kind of like a drunk, like, she goes out and, I don't know, she gambles, so she's not the best role model. Here she just kind of makes that switch, and she's just Hokage now, so she's fine.
Yeah, okay.
But in the anime, there's a little more time for her to, like, which I actually kind of like, although I don't know, I wouldn't say that I dislike the way the manga handles it, but in the anime, like, there are still scenes of her, like, kind of reluctantly getting into the Hokage position, like, she gets bored with what she's doing, so she'll, like, go out and drinking again, or I don't know if she does any gambling, but she's still kind of goofs off.
She doesn't really, she doesn't really do any of that this arc, as far as I can tell. But then, like, when it comes time for her Lee's surgery, then that's kind of what kind of makes her... Kicks her
like,
into gear, kind of?
Yeah, because, like, she sees his determination, and she's like, okay, I need to take this seriously, I gotta save this kid. And then she does her studying and does the thing. Also, there's another filler scene. Now, a couple of podcasts ago, I talked about Konohamaru, but what I'm realizing now is that he's not really a significant character. Like, he showed up in chapter 2, and he showed up a little bit
and
at the beginning of the Chunin.
after the Wave Country. With when Gaara was introduced, and
but that was basically it. Like, he hasn't shown up since.
Right.
In the anime, he gets a little more screen time because there's this one scene where Tsunade comes back. Like, she's coming in to take over as Hokage, and Konohamaru is like, he's barricaded the Hokage's office or whatever because, like, he hasn't gotten over his grandfather's death, so, like, he doesn't want to let that go.
And Konohamaru did show up around those moments, like the flashback with Sarutobi with the kids, or no, that wasn't a flashback, that just happened because Konohamaru was there, and then he was probably seen mourning at the funeral, but he didn't get much focus in the manga. I'm speaking. Okay.
Yeah, he was there, but he didn't do a whole lot. But, like, here there's, like, this scene where he sets up all these traps and whatnot, and, like, people are trying to get him out, Naruto's trying to get him out, he can't do it. And that part's kind of boring, but the really interesting part is when, like, Tsunade goes in, and all these traps goes off, and she's just, like, swatting them away with, like... It's a good way to show off her strength, and then she, like, walks up to Konohamaru, and he's like, oh god, she's gonna kill me. And then she just grabs a book off the shelf and walks away, and it's great.
Yeah, well, because you mentioned filler, and it definitely seems like there was a lot of filler around that, but this is... I don't imagine there was actually a lot of filler once you actually get into the arc, but after this arc is the infamous filler hell, where they had basically like 100 episodes of just filler arc after filler arc, just endlessly, until...
Now, that I did not watch, because I knew that it was filler. There were filler guides out there, and I skipped that, because I think I might have seen an episode or two of it, and I was like, this is boring.
Yeah, that's a... So you haven't actually finished Naruto.
No, that's the facade with my thing on my anime list, because it says I've completed Shippuden, but I know for a fact that in Shippuden I have probably watched none of the filler, at least like filler arcs or whatever. So I'm a liar.
but you want to have it marked down to what episode you actually ended on. So there's definitely a few series like that where I have as well, where I definitely haven't watched as many episodes as I say. They're just guesstimates. But oh boy, yeah. So. Anyway, back to the manga. They're doing this. They're just like showing off the guys who are going to be relevant in the next arc, and like, oh look, there's Choji. You remember Choji, don't you? Or stuff like that. But and then of course the Sound 4 come in, and then finally Sasuke's up, and our arc starts getting going.
Although, you can't go too far, because there was a fight before that between Sasuke and Naruto.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, I thought you were talking about they were already, like... never mind. I don't know what's going on.
No, it's fine. But, because, Sasuke's up for the... When did...
Now I'm remembering that part where Sakura has the plate of apples that she just peeled for him, and he just swats it away, and then, like, as he's leaving, he steps on one of the apple pieces, and it's like...
Sasuke has been corrupted by the darkness!
And he has, like, a panel dedicated to that, him stepping on the apple slice, and Sakura's reaction, it's like...
It is a little bit, but he's going off the deep end. Oh man, and that look he gives Naruto when he comes in, just man. But anyway, they want to fight, and the rooftop. They're on the rooftop. They're gonna fight. They're doing the yelling. They're Naruto, Sasuke. They're doing the yelling. Oh boy, I imagine they're gonna do a lot more yelling. But yeah, they have a little fight, and then Kakashi stops them, and then you get a scene that I thought was like, I liked the sort of like idea. But the execution was a little awkward because they just happened to fly right into the water tanks. Like, I mean, maybe Kakashi was trying to cool them off, like literally. But it was just it came off as a little like weird. But again, I get the point because it is a cool scene because you get Sasuke, he busts open the thing and it's like, yeah, I'm look how strong I am. But then he sees what Naruto did to his water tank and he's like, what? What? Like it's because Naruto.
Blows out the entire back of the thing.
And it's like a fake out because it's like, oh, he didn't do much to that water tank at all with his little Rasengan, but then boom, he did everything to the water tank.
It makes me wonder where did the rest of it go? Like, what happened? How did we not hear the water like crash?
Yeah, where did the water go? Maybe it was empty, but then there was definitely water in it because I'm looking at the panel now and there's water everywhere. But I mean maybe it just all went out faster when we weren't focused on it. Oh yeah,
possibly.
So but yeah. It's definitely big, but it's just, Sasuke is just, he's behind and he doesn't or he feels like he's behind, because, that was the other part, because there was a bit with, Sasuke refusing to put on his headband because he didn't see Naruto as an equal, so, he's just being this angry little edgelord, and it's, I do like how spoilers, I like the last fight of the arc, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
I thought this was kind of interesting, the way how this fight kind of started, where, I mean, like, you can tell that, like, the dynamic between the two characters has changed from what it was before, where, like, Naruto's coming in all confident, like, he's like, yeah, this is the day I finally beat you, Sasuke, and...
Yeah, because he's had a lot of successes, a lot of new training, so he's like, yeah, I'm on my top form, so...
And Sasuke can feel that his what am I looking for? His superiority to Naruto is slipping away, and he doesn't like it.
Yeah, but well, of course we'll talk about the rest of that because this is just the prelude to what's to come. Because then, or do we have any more to say? Because like the interesting stuff really comes in later, and I want to get to that. So I'm trying.
But I mean, like
you
get an interesting interaction between Kakashi and Jiraiya, where they're like, "Why would you teach him that technique?" He's like, "Well, why would you teach him that technique?" It's like, I didn't think he would do that. So it's
they're both like scolding each other for doing the same thing.
And then like Sakura was there, and
Kakashi tries to reassure Sakura, but
everything will be back to the way it was before. Never could the falser words have been spoken.
Oh yeah, and then right after there's a fake out that it just got me again. That's why I thought it was funny, because you have the Sound Ninja. They're gonna try and capture Sasuke, and then he gets wrapped up in wire. But no, it's not actually the Sound 4. It's Kakashi, and that tripped me up when I was first reading it, and then it tripped me up again just now. So, props to Kishimoto for that one, for fucking with me twice. Cause this is like the most positive Sasuke focused scene of the arc, because like, it's like, I like this conversation because you got Sasuke, he's like, oh, what if I killed the person most important to you? And Kakashi's like,
you can't. Nope. They're all dead.
And then Sasuke like connects with him, like he's actually like, oh, and then Kakashi talks about like, well, we both have friends, precious friends now, don't we? Even though we were alone, but now we have people we care about. And Sasuke like, he actually like looks like he's agreeing with him for a bit there.
It makes me think, like, the way that scene played out, it makes me think that if the Sound 4 wouldn't have jumped him right there, then maybe he would have changed his mind. Because
if not for the Sound 4, then he would have probably, things like Sakura said, Kishimoto or Kakashi told Sakura, things would have things will go back to normal. But then, of course, Orochimaru he was running out of time, he needed a body to go into, and so boom, Sound 4. Well, yeah, they fight for a bit, and Sasuke does some work, actually, against all 4 of them. I mean, they're not trying to kill him, and they're not, do they use their second form? I think one of them does.
No.
Yeah, no, I think they just used the first forms, the first curse sealed forms.
I don't think that they really use it to fight against him, but when because then Sasuke gets beaten up, and then he channels his curse mark, and then that's when they just knock him back.
Yes, the reveal that, oh look, they got curse marks too.
We all have curse marks.
So these guys are something. And it keeps cutting back to Lee, too. But I want to talk about Sasuke. I mean, what's the real... Like, Lee has some good moments here, but we already talked about it a bit, where it's like he's got his resolve. Like, there's no real arc to it, his resolve. He just has resolve. So, I mean, there's a bit of, like, willy or won't, but he does. It's not... And...
Yeah.
Because he does, we know he's not going to die, so it's not like there's a lot of tension here. So it's like, it's good, it's fine stuff. It's just, we already know his character. This isn't transforming his character any,
Because I thought it had already been established, he, in one of the flashbacks, I think he says, I'd be willing to put my life on the line for my ninja way. But then here, he kind of is hesitant against that, which I guess is... Yeah, it's not, I don't hate it, because, it's one thing to say something than to actually do it, but...
Or what was the earlier moment again? Like, against the Sound Ninjas, right? Or were they the same thing? Or when was it? Or was it Gaara that he was putting his life on the line? Earlier.
It was one of the two.
Okay,
it might have even just been in a flashback of him training as a younger child.
Yeah, because I mean, if it's one of the two that I'm thinking of, then I guess you could argue that because this is something outside of his control. He has the opportunity to take the operation or leave it, but with the actual fight, he can he has the he has more pull. Like it's not like he doesn't flip a coin and then he beats Gaara. He has to beat Gaara on his own. Merits.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a bit of helplessness in mind with the operation, but it does go on for quite a while. But we do get a little bit more on their relationship. But again, like I said, it's not really anything majorly transformative.
What I think is kind of confusing, and this is more so over the course of the arc, but since we're talking about Lee now, the way that his surgery is handled is kind of weird, because there's a point, like, I think when they're setting out, he hasn't had the surgery yet, but then at some point he has the surgery and he just kind of shows up.
Yeah, he like leaves immediately.
When did this happen?
Well, we'll definitely talk about that. But I guess, yeah, the surgery it must happen overnight, and then, yeah, and then he shows up. Cause the arc goes, like, it's night right now with, at the part I am with Sasuke leaving and talking to Sakura, and then the arc ends in, like, the early morning of not early, morning of the next day, So yeah, Lee basically, yeah, he has to have undergone surgery overnight, and then to have come into the arc when he did. But so yeah,
I just think it was kind of interesting how Kishimoto put so much emphasis on him getting the surgery beforehand, but didn't even just like a single panel of him like showing him in the hospital room or whatever, like just getting ready for it or something, just something to show like, hey, he's going to get this surgery now. Like, I don't think there was anything like that. It was just like his conversation with Guy.
Yeah,
and then the surgeries happened.
Yeah, if I notice something while flipping through, I'll let you know. But yeah, you're right, I don't think there's any mention of that until later. Which, but then there's, hold on, I'm trying to remember. Oh, no, wait, no, never mind, I'm wrong. Cause the Sakura was found in the morning after the Sasuke thing, so it didn't happen this night. It happened, did the Sasuke Retrieval go through the day, or, I
don't know, the way that everything kind of plays out is, as far as time goes, is kind of iffy, because I know he leaves in the night, and then they find him first thing in the morning, and then they set out, and then it seems like a day passes that they're on the run.
Well, I guess, and they were also assembling their team, too, so there's other stuff happening, but, anyway, we'll talk about the time when maybe we'll notice something as we keep going. But so we get this conversation between Sakura and Sasuke, which is pretty much the only thing Sakura does in the arc, unfortunately. But it is, I don't know, I like the conversation because, and I realize in retrospect that it's kind of setting up I wouldn't say what this arc is doing with the characters, because Sakura she basically says that she's willing to, sort of dedicate herself to him. She wants to, like every moment to keeping it, as long as it stays there. And, so like later on you'll get these fights with like Choji and Neji where like, it was sort of like asking like, what are these characters willing to, put why these characters are putting their lives on this mission, so like, and everyone's sort of, offering up their lives in exchange for this, task. So you got Sakura here, and she's, willing, and she's kind of willing to, even before Sasuke even leaves, she's kind of willing to put her life, or not quite as strongly as those, because she's not going to die, but,
yeah, because she does even say that she'd be willing to go with him if that's what he needed. Like, just any way that she could help him.
That would have been interesting if that happened.
Yeah, that would have been kind of interesting just to see how she would have reacted. Like, maybe you could have had, if she had gone with Sasuke, like, the other characters find her and then they have to, like, fight or something. But realistically, with the way the arc plays out, it would have felt off.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting, like, what if? Like, what if that happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Because one thing that I could never... One issue I've always had with the relationship between Sasuke and Sakura is that it never seemed like Sasuke cared at all. But, like, as I'm revisiting, like, this scene, and there was, like, the scene when he first wakes up, where he does kind of seem a little bit like he cares about Sakura in some capacity.
The one moment is first he's, like, scolding her and, like, oh, you'll never change, you're still just Sakura. And then, but then he says thank you before he knocks her out, and it's like, oh, okay. So he appreciates the fact that she cares, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Also, wait, hold on, what the fuck? I just noticed something. Okay, that was weird. Am I making a mistake? Okay, was there like a time skip? Because when Guy and Lee are talking, at the end of the chapter, it's like a full moon. But then, now, with the sound, with Sasuke leaving, there's a crescent moon. So, did Kishimoto fuck up, or is it has notable amount of time passed before, like, because it seems like it's like the next day, pretty much. Like, that's how it comes off. But, okay, the time thing is even weirder than I thought. Because I just noticed this big panel of the Sound 4 standing and Sasuke standing in silhouette against the crescent moon. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I just saw the full moon. What? So
maybe the stuff with Lee was a flashback, and he was... But then, like, it's not like he got the surgery before, because then when he's talking with them as they're leaving the gate...
Tsunade would have gotten here, like, the other day, as far as I can tell. So,
because it's not like we can't even say that Lee maybe had the surgery as, like, when they were leaving, and maybe he still had the crutch because he was still getting over it, because they say later when he's not there that, like, oh, Tsunade was by his side the whole time, and the one time she leaves right after surgery to heal these other people, he's gone. So... he very clearly had not had the surgery yet, so
he, did he fuck up with the moons is the other question, because that's also
it might have just
likely,
been a simple error.
Right, so, but that's, the time shit is getting even weirder. But anyway, so they do finish the conversation. I didn't have anything more to say on the Sasuke Sakura conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
there's not a whole lot to go off of there, other than that, Sakura is, Sakura's kind of
she hasn't changed.
She doesn't
she's
do
still Sakura,
much.
Yeah,
she's still Sakura, which it is important for setting up like what happens at the end of the arc with her. But yeah, for right now, she's still Sakura. She's still useless, which is kind of the point, at least in this instance.
But yeah, she gets found. She delivers her information on Sasuke, and then Shikamaru has to assemble a team to go grab Sasuke.
But the Chunin and Jonin are busy on other missions, so he's got to find Genin.
Well, I think they mentioned a little later, or maybe they already mentioned it and I missed it. But like, apparently the village lost like half of its fighting ninja force, and I'm like, wait, what? That would have been nice to know, like 100 chapters ago.
Because I know that there were other battles going on simultaneously,
or rather, lots of casualties. Because that wasn't really like there was the scene of the new female character who we thought was Kurenai mourning Hayate, who had died before the invasion. So, but yeah, there was no sense of like a lot of ninjas. Like the only ninjas we see are like older Jonin doing cool shit. We don't see like randos dying. Because we were saying like, oh, they're saying that the village is at an all-time low power-wise, and it's like, it didn't seem that bad. But now it's like, oh, they lost half their ninjas. That would have been nice to know. And so yeah, it feels like there's no way that he just sort of like, I mean, because Kakashi hasn't. Yeah, there was a scene with like all the Jonin like talking. So it's not like they were stressed for work before the Tsunade arc when Kakashi and Asuma and Kuro and I were just hanging out. Now all of a sudden they need to go on missions back to back to make the village look good. So it just feels like it kind of like pulled it up to explain why they don't send actual practice ninja to go after the Sound 4 and save Sasuke. It's like, so the kids have to do it. So, but it's kind of like not implemented very well. So, because it doesn't really line up with all the past information we have. So, yeah, kind of disappointing. So yeah, Shikamaru, he's got the mission now, and he's going to assemble his team. It's Naruto, Choji, Kiba, Neji, Lee isn't able to. Oh yeah, Lee's not doing a surgery right now. He must go to surgery after this, I guess, because he suggests Neji.
Yeah.
And then they go out. I do like the scene of like Shikamaru sort of setting up their marching order and explaining why everyone will be good at the positions they have. I thought that was cool, because it's like, I mean, of course it's supposed to be a team just sort of assembled from nothing, but obviously Kishimoto assembled it with deliberate intentions in mind. But
on the topic of Shikamaru, I must say that, like, I know, like, they do have a point earlier where they kind of make fun of him for, like, oh, you look so professional now with the big Chunin getup. But, compared, like, I was looking ahead just to kind of figure out where we were going to go in later chapters, and just seeing, like, Shikamaru's design then, when he's older, I realized that, like, this, redesign with him in the Chunin, like, outfit, I really like this, because before, like, his design was cool, but here he looks like he's still more mature, but yet he's still Shikamaru. He's still kind of got that childish laziness about him. Whereas I think his later design doesn't quite. I don't know. It doesn't stand out to me as much. But this one here looks cool. And on the topic of just like the artwork, I didn't notice this until Kishimoto did like his kind of that giant panel later where it shows like a flashback of like all the fights that have happened. But his art style, like, I haven't noticed it as we've been going along, but looking back at some of the older panels, it's really interesting to see how Kishimoto's art style has evolved. Like, especially when you see the first shot of Shikamaru, like when he's first introduced, and he's got a really weird look, like a misshapen head, but now he looks more like, I don't know, he looks, I guess, I don't know, I like it. I like his design. I just think the artwork...
Yeah, his art style has definitely become more polished as he's gone on, though. Yeah.
And it's not just with Shikamaru, it's with, like, the other characters. I know Rock Lee, like, his face was kind of angular when he was first introduced, but he's rounded out. I just think it's good to note. We don't talk much about artwork here, except for, like, that palace that was destroyed.
Sometimes we'll be like, that's a cool panel, or that's some weird choreography and composition. But yeah, other than that, we don't talk about it a lot.
But it was this change was like a very natural thing. Like it was over the course of his work. Like you don't notice it as you're going along. But
I don't think there's a manga where that doesn't happen. It would be short if that's true. Because especially like I've seen lots of comparison images for like a Berserk or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or One Piece where they sort of like, because there are all these long running series, and so they put a bunch of panels from like, okay, this chapter and then this chapter like 50 chapters later. And then they kind of keep going until you get like this long line of like the character, and you can sort of see how their design was shifted over time, and it's really cool. But I haven't seen one for Naruto now I think about it. So, and
then you get to the point where the manga writing industry, the nature of it takes its toll, and then as the artwork goes up, it goes back down.
Yes, because I've definitely seen some panels from later on. I feel like during the war, the art takes a downturn. But we'll get to that, and we'll.
But that's definitely.
I'm not
just
sure
so
which
no
I
one.
like better, though.
I was gonna say just so no one says it in the comments. That's not just a Naruto problem. That's just any long running manga would have that art problem.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not sure. Because the art style is definitely more crisp now. But I'm not sure if I like that better than the earlier stuff. Because the earlier stuff had a bit more personality. Maybe not a bit more, but it definitely had a different personality. So
yeah, I can see that. I think it was kind of fitting, I guess, with like as the tone was shifting, that it would look a bit different. I don't know.
Maybe. But see, anyways, Sasuke, he's talking to the sound 4, and he has to do this barrel ritual where he gets in the barrel, and I actually like this quite a bit because it's like I remember hearing a quote from someone who worked at Nintendo where it's like, genius isn't just a good solution. A genius is one solution to many problems. So right here with Sasuke getting into the barrel, so this keeps him out of the fighting during most of the arc where everyone's chasing him, he's not with the Sound 4 fighting everyone else. It gives him a power-up, so he can fight Naruto on more even ground later, and then, it also, probably the biggest thing is that it's, like later on when he's fighting Naruto, you have this sort of like Sasuke, he wants power from Orochimaru, and here he is now wielding the power he got from Orochimaru. So if he wins, then that vindicates him. He's, he needs to go to Orochimaru to get stronger because here he is winning with the power he just got from him. But if he loses, then that vindicates Naruto because Sasuke doesn't need to leave the leaf to get strong. And if Naruto proves that with the power he has gotten from the leaf, then so you get this neat battle of with different, I don't want to say ideologies, but goals later, and this barrel ritual just really it's at first I was like, isn't this a bit convenient to get Sasuke trapped away? But then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, this is perfect. So I thought it was cool,
and I think it's good. It's a better way to have Sasuke not really contribute to the arc, like over that big middle span, but still have him be, because it's the Sasuke Retrieval arc. It's not about Sasuke. It's about the other characters trying to bring him back.
Yes.
So unlike in like the tuning exams where he doesn't really do anything, he disappears for a while and comes back after some mysterious training.
Yeah. Here he's still relevant even if he's not directly here. So.
And also the fact that he is just handed a power-up, which in other instances might come off as, that's convenient.
We will definitely be talking about power-ups this arc, because there's some I like and some I don't like, because I do, power-ups get a lot of shit because usually they're just ass pulls, right? Every power-up ever is just an ass pull. No, but it depends on the context matters.
But here Sasuke is just handed a power-up, and it is very unsatisfying that he didn't work for that, but that's also what Sasuke's going for. He just wants power.
This is the point. Yes, he's taking dark power from a bad source. Like, it's not a good thing that he's getting a power-up from Orochimaru. It's not like, and he's not, but this is also what he wants. Like, if he wasn't getting something like this, he wouldn't be going to Orochimaru, you know? So this, we'll definitely talk about that later when he actually faces down with Naruto. But, I like this. You know, it's fine.
I also liked the way, it was interesting how the dynamics changed, because when the Sound Four first find him, they're treating him like, oh, you're just a piece of shit. You're just a brat. Like, why does Orochimaru want you? But then as soon as he comes out there, it's like, okay, these are our orders. We're listening to you.
Well, first they tease him a bit because they're like, you have to die?
You must die just once. Just once.
I mean, it is Orochimaru they're talking about. Multiple deaths are not out of the question.
I do think that is an interesting moment, though, because Sasuke, it's like, okay, he's like, I can't die because I gotta fight Itachi, but at the same time, it's like, do I trust these people? Because, like, they just attacked me, but I want power. So it's like Sasuke is given, like, I know, like, Sakura, like, he's had moments where he could have gone back on this, but he gets another one here where it's like, am I really going to put my fate in the hands of these people that I just met who tried to attack me earlier, but it could give me power? I'm going to do it.
I mean, it's like as if the situation would somehow be better if he was with Orochimaru, you know, like, because then he'd be like, okay, then you got these four who were trying to kill me earlier, then everyone else who works for Orochimaru and Orochimaru himself. So it's like, well, this is probably the best time, I guess.
It is like a testament to his resolve, because you never know. What if the Sound Four, like, he doesn't know them as well, so maybe they could betray him because they're jealous or whatever.
Right. Well, I mean,
but it's interesting.
I don't know
like he doesn't really. He doesn't really care about that. He's just like, I just want the power. This is why I'm here. I left the village. I'm going through with this. I'm not backing down. So it is a good way to show how to like stress his convictions.
Yes. I mean, and we as the audience know about, like, Kabuto trying to kill him, maybe, sorta. It's weird. But yeah, it's so... But I don't know how much he knows about, like, the sort of rivalry amongst Orochimaru's followers, you know, because everyone's sort of competing for daddy's affection, so to speak. But Sasuke, he's the favored child despite not even being in the family. So anyway, that happens, and, so yeah, Tsunade talks to Lee, and so Lee agrees to do the operation, so yeah, it's daytime, they're heading out, but, so yeah, it's stuff like this that makes me feel like Kishimoto fucked up with the moons, because there's no way the surgery wouldn't have been done if that conversation with Lee hadn't happened a couple weeks ago. So yeah, it's got to be an art mistake.
But here in this conversation as they're going out the gate, you get sort of, I don't know if you can really call it a theme, but the idea of, like, promises and broken promises. How you've already had. You had Guy talking to Lee about how, you know, you're gonna pass this surgery, and if you don't, then I'm gonna die too, because I've dedicated my life to training you. That's a promise, and that's like, oh, that's good, and it works out in the end. So that's a heroic promise. And then I didn't think about
promises coming up multiple times like that, but with Naruto promising to bring Sasuke back, he obviously fails. So
and even before this, you have Kakashi promising to Sakura, like, everything's gonna go back to the way it was before. But that obviously...
Right, but it's like, compared, like, with Lee and Guy, the surgery succeeds, so we don't have to wonder if Guy will follow up on his promise, but then with Naruto, you know, he says that he says, like, I'm going to bring him back, it's just not right now, like, that he kind of can't, so, you know, but Kakashi, I don't remember if he did anything, like, yeah, so it's definitely not really an idea being explored, but it is interesting that it comes up multiple times.
Yeah, because then when the characters branch off into their one-on-one fights, you have them saying, well, I'm going to meet back up with you guys, and that's a promise.
Oh, more promises. Yeah.
So it's like a recurring thing. I don't think it's really a theme. That's the thing.
I don't think this arc particularly has a strong theme, but I think it's fine because there are commonalities in, like, again, with the what are these characters? Like, it's more exploring the characters. I'd say that's the focus of the arc, because otherwise, like, why even bring have the Sound 4 and bring Choji along? Like, why involve Choji in the arc if the idea isn't to explore some aspect of his character, you know? So, yeah, but we'll talk about that, because I have things to say. Oh, actually, now looking at this page, because I looked ahead to where the two Jonin run into the Sound 4, and I only just I'm slow. I'm very slow. I only just realized that the curse seal, they all have different curse seal patterns. So
yes.
But yeah. So the Sound 4, they fight and they win, and I'm not sure what else to say. Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting.
Because the Jonin are weakened. So, or go on.
But now that you mention that, it is interesting how like the power dynamics of this arc are laid out, because these are not the strongest characters in relation to anything.
They even mentioned later that they're not. They just came back from a mission, so they weren't at full strength in the first place.
Well,
they're outnumbered 2-1. So it's like.
Yeah, because the Sound 4 fight these two exhausted Jonin, and even then they still have to go into their second state with the curse marks, and they still end up exhausted.
Their second
like
state
they
or
barely
just enhanced curse mark? I don't remember.
Either way, they
there's
have to
like
give
the
it their
first state
all,
with the tattoos, and then there's the second state where they actually transform. I don't remember if they have to go to the second state to fight these guys.
I think in the conversation that comes up after the fact, I don't know. We'll get to it when that comes up, but. I think they said they went second state, but either way, like they really had to work hard to take down these two Jonin, even though they outnumbered them 2-1, and they were exhausted. But even then, like they still struggled. So, like it's not impossible to believe that Naruto's squad or Shikamaru's squad is going to go out there and like stand a chance against these guys, because they're not like. We're not talking like Orochimaru level people. These are his peons.
No, not even close. Right. So, and then because it sets them. It firmly sets the characters below Jonin, even though except for maybe Naruto, because obviously Naruto already fought Gaara at this point, and Gaara is definitely like low Jonin level. I'd say. Maybe just because he's got so many he scared the Jonin with his abilities. So, yeah. I would say Gaara is definitely up there, but I'm not sure. And Naruto, I don't know. Would Naruto necessarily do a lot worse against these guys than the others? I'm not sure, but or better or worse significantly. I'm not sure, but because a lot of it is power play as well. Like, does this ability counter my ability, or vice versa? There's definitely a bit of that going on with these fights.
Yeah, it doesn't just come down to straight up power. Like who has higher numbers.
Though anyway, so but yeah, they're chasing after, and there's this moment with like a double layered wire, but it's actually a triple layer because the spider guy. And then now we start getting into the actual conflicts with the Shikamaru's team going after the Sound 4.
And this is where the arc, well, not like necessarily the first few fights, but the arc really starts slowing down as it goes further along. Like, this was... But up to this point, I haven't really had much of an issue reading Naruto. Like, it's been a really easy read, and I haven't, struggled with it. This arc was the first time when I was really, starting to... I had to force myself to get through some of the parts, because it just... it drags longer than it needs to.
Okay.
But that's more so a problem.
I didn't need to, but I also have a better method of reading, because I have the volumes downloaded. So I get 2 pages at once, and transition between pages is even faster than physical. So it's easier for me. So if I say I have no reading problems, it's different, because you're reading on online readers where you get 1 page at a time, and when you want to go next page, you have to wait like a second for the page to actually load, and you're like, I want to die. So yeah.
Well, even then, it's more just the story kind of loses interest as it goes along.
Yeah, because it's just a series of fights, based pretty much.
Yeah.
There's one fight I like. Getting into the fights. Yeah, there's one fight I like, except for and then Naruto versus Sasuke. So, okay, we just need to let's finally address the elephant in the room. Okay, Kishimoto, his fights are generally not good. I'm trying to think, and for every good fight, there's 3 others that aren't good. Because lots of talking about abilities and deductions, lots of talking in general, and then see this arc you get. Okay, so you do get. I do like this first bit where there's trapped in the seal or the rock dome that's draining their chakra, and they have to come up with a way to get out. Like, that was cool, that teamwork and stuff. But then you get the first real fight, because Choji's go on ahead, guys. I'll hold him off. They do the thing, the Shounen thing.
This fight.
And it's just, well, because, okay, so, yeah, this fight, you have, like, okay, Choji, his powers are simple, and he's fighting this guy. But then, of course, to make the fight more, quote-unquote, interesting, you get Choji's family medicine, his special family medicine. And it's just, I don't know. Well, how do you feel about the special pills?
I don't care for them, because, like, they give him a power boost, but, like, what...
And it's just like they kind of come out of nowhere, and it's not like they give him interesting abilities. Like he's just strong. Like, oh, he gets bigger, and then he gets really bigger, and then he gets skinny, and like that was the moment where I just sort of like groaned, is where he's like, with my curse seal, I'm 10 times stronger, and Shoji eats his pill, and it's like, well, I'm 100 times stronger. And it's like this fight was written by 4th graders playing with action figures. Just like, well, I'm stronger. Oh no, I'm stronger. And yeah, it's just, but then it's like it's got the obvious downside of like, oh, if Choji, his power, he's gonna if he uses the red pill, he's gonna die, and it's like, okay, sure, whatever. But it's just, and then of course the pills come out of nowhere, and like this is why I was talking about power ups earlier, or mentioning power ups earlier, because this is not a good example of power up. Like, it doesn't make the fight more interesting. It's just not good. Like,
I think it's kind of
the best part about the fight is with Choji's character, with him, you know, he's a joke, and which even fits into the tuning exams, like, because we were even talking about how, like, dude, why do you get mad about being called fat? Like, it's like 90% of your character, and then that's kind of
his fight was an afterthought. Like, he's not even really, he doesn't do anything. He's just like, he's after Gaara and Lee. There's nothing he can do. He's just a joke.
Exactly. Yeah. He just gets. I mean, he could have done the green pill and then just wrecked Doku, but no, it's or Doku. I think Dosu. I think, yeah. Yeah, he could have, like, the green pill doesn't seem to have that bad effects. But yeah, it's.
I'm also not really a big fan of the curse mark as a power up, which
that's fair. I mean, especially seeing it like 5 times in a row, it kind of loses some of its impact.
Like the first fight gives you the formula. Like, our character shows off his power, but then the other guy shows off his curse mark, and then our guy steps up his game, but then the other one goes in the second state curse mark, but then our other character has another thing.
Or spoilers, an ally comes in and acts as the third form, so... Yeah, or as the main character's third win.
It's like just really juxtaposing the protagonist against these guys, where the protagonists have to come up with some sort of a strategy to overcome this power, or, I don't know, dig up their own power, which isn't as interesting. But, like, when your power up is just like a transformation, like your form changes and that's it, you just have new power. That's okay if you do it once. Fine, I get it. It's a transformation. Like, but
yeah, here we have it like happening. Like, this is one fight where it happens like 3-4 times. Yeah, like two each character, pretty much. Yeah, like, because Choji has his big form, and then he has his like smaller butterfly form, and then the dude has the first stage curse seal, and then he has the second stage curse seal. So it just keeps happening. That's it. And then, like I was trying to say earlier, Choji does get the bit of character moment where he's proving himself. You know, Shikamaru chose him for this mission, so he's going to put his life on line to succeed in the mission and prove himself. You know, to himself, to his friends. You know, that's fine. But then the actual fight is it's not good. It's not good.
It's not interesting. It's just a very one-dimensional fight. One guy gets a power up, other guy gets a power up, the other guy gets a power up. One guy dies. The end.
Yeah, and one guy almost dies but doesn't, because
that's another can of worms.
I mean, I don't mind. I'm trying.
What I don't like is that he gets like this send off, like he's going to die. Like, you have the big butterfly thing, and Shikamaru sees it.
That's the thing. It's like it's supposed to look. It's symbolic. The butterfly is going away from Shikamaru. Choji's dead, but then no, he's fine. Choji lives. Like, because. I mean, that's the issue with because I think I mentioned in a previous episode how it's common for power-ups to have, like, life span affecting things because it doesn't affect the fight itself. Like, it's not like
But
they have
in
a
this
weakness.
fight, Choji says, he's like, if I take the red pill, I will certainly die. And he doesn't die.
Yeah, but it's exactly well because if he had another weakness is like, oh, my wings they slow me down, or like, no, that would be lengthening the fight. But the Kishimoto just wanted it to end, so he has to make it seem like the main character is putting a big, because again, that is the thing with Arc, is that they are putting their lives on the line, and so Choji taking the red pill is him putting his life for the mission, but he doesn't put his life for the mission. I mean, at least this isn't. I mean, yeah, with the thing with the butterfly going by Shikamaru after the after the panel of Choji sitting at the base of the tree with an arrow on it, like that, it's not like. I mean, I'm doing the thing where I compare it to Fairy Tail because Fairy Tail is the only shonen in my brain right now. Help! Let me out. But it's because the thing with him is Mashima is that he'll kill off a character and he'll sell the emotion so hard he'll make it the saddest character death you ever fucking saw, and then like literally, not even exaggerating, at least once this happened. Next chapter, the character is a healer comes by and heals the character, and so it's just like makes you feel bad for having put emotion into the series. Like it makes you like look like an idiot for having cared about the death at all because it wasn't going to stick. See, so at least like this isn't really selling them. Like the way it's doing it is more subtle. Like if you weren't paying attention, you might not even catch the whole butterfly thing at all. So you might not feel that they didn't, So at least in that case, yeah, they don't really linger on Choji's death enough for it to be truly like disappointing when he comes back, but it's like, what value is to be gained by killing Choji? See, character death is like that's the thing. Is like because Shonen gets a lot of shit for having characters come back because it happens so often. Like Naruto, like I can't think of a shonen that doesn't do it. The only one I could think of that hasn't. Well, even with Hunter x Hunter, a lot of people made the thing with Gon at the end because he uses the thing and he nearly dies, but then he doesn't die and he's fine. He's alive.
Well,
so,
and there's Kite too, how he comes back as a different
Kite,
being.
Yes,
or
exactly,
whatever.
yeah. So like this is like Hunter x Hunter, which is largely considered the pinnacle of shonen, and even then it's got the deaths, but not really. So it's like it's basically unavoidable. So it's like and in my fervent desire to love everything about One Piece and never criticize One Piece ever, there's definitely some deaths that don't stick. And, there's one where I definitely feel like it's a mistake and it ruins the moment because, it's a very pervasive problem. And so I'm trying to think of, like, at what level do I care and do I not care? So I think I'm kind of, like, I don't like the fight just because of the pills. It's just not interesting. But I think I can forgive Choji not dying just because, like, who gives a shit? They don't really linger on the emotions. They don't, and then he's a minor character. What is him having more dead characters doesn't make your story better. Otherwise, Attack on Titan would be a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. Just saying.
I was interested to see what you would say about this because you have seen Fairy Tail, and I remember you bringing up the idea of character deaths in your series on it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I haven't seen that series, and this was, I remember when I first watched the Naruto anime, like, back in 2014, this arc, there were two fights that really aggravated me because the characters seemed like they were going to die, but they didn't die.
I think I know the other.
My issue, I know you said that it's a lot more subtle than, I guess, Fairy Tail, which I can't make the comparison.
Yeah.
But for me, looking at Naruto and, like, the way, like, it might be more subtle, but there's a lot of emphasis placed on, like, you get his backstory and Kishimoto goes out of his way to make you care about Choji in this fight, who up to this point was just kind of an irrelevant background character. And then, like, the way that he kind of, like, he slumps against the tree and he has these moments, it seems very dramatic, like he is gonna die, even if it's more subtle than this character is actually dead. But what bothers me, it bothers me that, because I know in the Chunin exams part, I talked about Dosu and how at first I was kind of upset that Kishimoto killed him off, but then I changed my mind because Dosu probably wouldn't have done anything later on. Shoji doesn't do anything. Like, I can think of one moment. I can think of one moment that and this is in the Great Ninja War, when there's kind of a character moment with him. And there might have been one in one of the Akatsuki arcs coming up, but it's not significant enough. Like, I feel like the character moment with him, like, quote unquote, the character moment is very similar to what happens here, and I don't.
So it's just retreading old ground, basically.
With Choji, I'm a little less certain about that, but I know in the next fight, it's definitely, like, I don't think anything about it changes, or it might just be a new context,
I know
but it's literally the same meaning.
Yeah.
But
the thing is,
like, I know you said that just killing off characters doesn't make your story more dramatic or anything, but in this instance, Naruto already has such a large supporting cast. Like, what do you gain by keeping Choji alive?
See, now I'm thinking about more, and I'm less positive on Choji's death. Like as the seconds go on, but keep going.
Yeah, because this is one part. Like, just I never liked the stuff with Choji, and upcoming in the next fight with Neji. Just the way that it seems like they die, but with Neji, it's a lot less subtle. And that's another part of my issue with it. But like, I don't see the point in keeping a character around if that character is not going to do anything. Like, that was my issue with Lee in a way, because Lee, like, he has his fight and he gets taken out by Gaara and he has this surgery, and it's like, okay, what's going to happen with him? But he doesn't really do anything. And someone in the comments of one of the podcasts had said that Lee's arc is kind of already over. Like, he showed us his resolve. What more is there for him to do? And like, I kind of get that. Not saying that Lee had to die, but like, the same thing applies here, that like, why keep Choji, like, you write it in this way that it looks like he could die, and if he dies, like, it's not like, it's not going to make me care about Choji more, but just having him around to not do anything, not progress as a character, or have any real meaningful things, like
what
a
I've been trying to say for a minute is, the other angle to look at is, it's not just Choji, it's also Shikamaru, because at the end of the arc, Shikamaru was crying because the mission failed. Like, it was his first mission as a Chunin, and he failed, even though it was a pretty fucking difficult mission. I'd say this is at least, B rank, if not A rank, But imagine if Choji, or even just Choji, had died. Like, Shikamaru brings his best friend along to the mission, and his friend ends up dead. Like, how does that affect Shikamaru? Like, that might have been really interesting to explore, so I'm kind of like shooting, if my argument is pro Choji death, I'm shooting myself in the foot here.
You're absolutely right, because in that moment, Shikamaru, he's talking with Tamari, and he says, like, I'm not cut out to be a shinobi. I realize this because, I brought these men along, they put their faith in me, they put their lives in my hands, and I let them down. And then they're like, his father comes along and he says, well, that's, your friends are still going to go on these missions anyway. It doesn't matter. They're still going to have to go out there and fight, whether or not you're leading them. But if you lead them, there's a chance that they may live, which I guess kind of works with them living, but I feel like that also lessens the impact of, like, this is the harsh reality you live in, where, someone dies. Like, I think it would have made Shikamaru continuing to do what he does stronger. Like, my best friend died, and it was my fault, but I'm not going to give up.
That would have been really interesting to explore, but also is that too dark for the series? Like, because this is supposed to be the lighter part of the series. This is just part one, so...
Well, this arc really does begin that tone shift. Like, the stuff with Sasuke gets more into the... this mentality that we really start digging into here is basically going to become the backbone of what he does for the rest of the series.
Exactly, yes.
So with Choji, like, there is a bit of, I don't know, there's pros and cons on how it would affect Shikamaru, but in the next fight with Neji...
I do think, I can definitely think, like, I feel like Choji is not dying, it's not good in the least, it's definitely fairly bad, but it's not the worst I've seen, so that's where my, like, I
get you. It's not like, he could have done worse. Like, he could have actually killed Choji and revived him. Now that I think about that, later in the series, stuff like that happens, so...
Yeah. Oh yeah, imagine if Choji showed up at the 4th Shinobi War as a fucking, Ito Tensai. Yeah, that would have been fun. Oh man. But, okay, I think, are we about done with Choji? Bitching about Choji's not death? Because it's like, I feel like, are there any analytical videos on that subject of just character death or not death? Because I feel like people bitch about it constantly, but I do feel like there's room for discussion in it because, again, it's something that feels intrinsic to the action adventure shonen genre, where it's just like again, even with the top ones that everyone loves, like One Piece, Hunter x Hunter, JoJo, it's an unfucking avoidable. You just can't escape.
Yeah, because like
you can't.
I know even like Hunter x Hunter has that issue where like the character who sets Gon off, who makes him go into this downward spiral, doesn't actually die, and Gon with his whole setback, he doesn't actually. So it's I don't know if there's that.
Yeah, like,
there might be a video out there discussing that topic, but I'm not sure if there is.
Because again, as I said earlier, there are points to make for like again, death doesn't make a better story automatically, and so. But
at the same time,
that's how I justify a lot. Like, because with One Piece, it happens like there's one moment I definitely do not like, but most of the other ones of the fake deaths I'm fine with, usually because they don't focus a lot on the emotion, or it doesn't really matter whether or not the character dies, but that they're sacrificing something or that like it's iffy. And then with One Piece, there are major deaths that have thus far stuck pretty hard. But we'll get to One Piece next time on the Nen. Not next time. We've got lots of Naruto to go.
I wish.
Well, I don't know. This arc definitely has some really sour spots. And speaking of sour spots, actually no, I like the next bit because I like the bit where they're trying to trick the Sound 4 with the transformation into the guy. I mean, it is kind of like they just automatically tell that he's not him, but it makes sense. These guys have been hanging out for a while, the Sound 4, so they should know each other's quirks. But I don't know, you don't really get a lot of the stealth stuff, the deception stuff, even though much of their movesets are based around it. And some people say, but they're ninjas. Why isn't Naruto about stealth? Like, it's still fine if you thought it was going to be about stealth after the first chapter with a giant nine-tailed fox stealing inside a kid and 1,000 clones. Then shut up, you're an idiot.
I do just like the strategy that comes up, like, as they'll catch up to them. Like, you obviously have Shikamaru transforming into Jirobo, and he tries to impersonate him, that fails. But then you have, like, I mean, there's just, obviously the spider guy stays back to fight them, the other two go on ahead. And then you have, like, bits with Naruto using his shadow clones to kind of buy time. I know this could be seen as, like, really corny, because the guy is like, oh, I'm gonna take them out one by one, and we're gonna see which one's the real one. But I think it works in this scenario. Like, obviously, the trope of villain playing with his food, so to speak, in almost literally. And speaking of that,
there was one moment I just noticed it on the page. Sorry to interrupt, but it's like there's a bit where it's like, man, I knew it was a mistake to leave our weakest behind. Like, they have to drive it home.
Yeah.
That these other sound guys, they're even stronger than like. That it's that same, like, just that same kind of trying to keep tension in just like an awkward way.
There was also a moment where Shikamaru talks about Choji, where he's like, "Yeah, but I think Choji might be our strongest." And I'm like, "Do you mean physical strength? Because I can understand."
Or do you mean determination because he's willing to offer his life?
Or do you mean an overall power ability? What are you saying? Is this just to make us believe in Choji?
Yeah. Well, in this case with the Sound Force specifically, like, since so many of the fights are based on power play, like especially the one coming out with Neji versus Spider Boy, I wrote down the names, but I forget them anyway. Yeah, it's hold on, I have the name.
Yeah, it's funny. This is the only one I don't remember.
Kidomaru. Yeah, Kidomaru. Yeah, so it's like, the fight's really about the power play between their abilities, not necessarily their raw strength. So it's like, it's very Kishimoto's building up. He's trying to create tension as if he was writing Dragon Ball when he's really writing Naruto, and he forgot. So that's kind of how I see it, because it doesn't, character strength does matter to a degree in Naruto, but for all the shit I give on the fights being more about talking than fighting, like, it is about the abilities, at least at this point. It's not about who has the biggest Rasengan. That's not how the fights work. So.
I mean, I think
I'll give him that.
The Choji fight wasn't very technical, which is why I think it was probably the least interesting of the bunch.
It was power up after power up. Like, honestly, Neji's fight is there's the death stuff later that we'll get into. Hopefully, not too much because we already did that.
The actual fight is definitely my favorite fight in this arc. Like, maybe
it might be my second favorite, just because I really like Naruto versus Sasuke.
Yeah, Naruto and Sasuke is also
for different
good.
reasons. yeah, it's easily the best of the sound fights, at least, like, the 5 fights against the sound guys, like, because, I mean, it's not really, yeah, I mean, well, I guess we're getting into that, because, there's a little trick with, like, Naruto, he only attacks with shadow clones, so he, bides all the time, and then Neji does the thing where it's like, go on ahead,
yeah, because Neji, he can use his power
that's just how it goes.
Because his spider threads are made of chakra, so Neji can use his ability to cut the chakra. But I did really like that moment, because, I mean, I was talking about, like, the trope of villain toying with his prey and being just inadequate because of it. But, like, here in this instance, I think it was really cool how it's like, oh, he's taking him out one by one, like it's a dartboard. But then it was all shadow clones the whole time, and he just wasted a bunch of time. I don't know, I like that instance. I thought it was cool.
Well,
it made
Naruto
Naruto
didn't really
look
matter,
cool.
like, which, yeah.
Because Naruto's a smart boy sometimes.
So anyway, we get to if we're done with that, so onto the Neji Kidomaru fight properly. Like, they both pull out, a number of, because we already know Neji's abilities, and that's the other thing. He doesn't pull out anything new, I don't think. Like, Neji, this isn't like with Choji or even Kiba later, or Lee, or, like, every other fight, someone's pulling out something new. But, like, Neji, we already know he's strong.
Yes.
So he doesn't need to pull out anything new. So we're just, well, if anything, we learn a new weakness. Like, if anything, he's nerfed, because we find out that the Byakugan has a blind spot. Like, that's like, if that got widely spread, like, because it's widely known that the Byakugan has full 360 vision, so it actually having 359-degree vision, that's like, oh, the Byakugan is far from invincible, so that's like...
But then it's also really cool how his own abilities play off each other, because obviously he has the rotation, so he can just dispel everything in the area. So, like...
And Kidomaru's trying to use web and stuff to stop his rotation, so you got, like... this is the power play that,
And the other thing...
It's good. And
talking about the blind spot of the Byakugan... Early into the arc, when they're setting up, like, the character introductions, there's a moment with Neji where he sees like the birds, and he's in his training thing, and he's like, there are 7 birds, but there's only 8. Or, I mean, there's actually 8. So it's like, it kind of foreshadows that blind spot.
Yes, I forgot about that. Well, they mentioned that later, or that comes up again later, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot about that. And the other thing I just realized is because a lot of the fight is actually like, Kidomaru is trying to be stealthy, and then eventually he just goes away. Like, he's a fair distance away from Neji. So they're not talking about their abilities.
Like, they're just thinking fighting about it, but they're not, like, telling each other this is how things work.
Exactly. There's a lot of internal narration. So if Kishimoto, like, I'm fine with having to explain things, like, this is why my argument for the narrator of Hunter x Hunter. I don't know if I mentioned that on the show before, but I know I talked about it with you, because I feel like, I don't think I mentioned it in the show before. Because, if your issue with the fights is a lot of talking, the characters talking to each other, especially, like with Naruto, you can avoid that by having a narrator explain the problems. But then, even with Naruto, like, he tries to do that with Zetsu, but then you just have this character who's like 90% of his character, quote-unquote, is literally talking to himself about the fight. And it's just like, But if you had a narrator, the narrator can just explain things, and it's non-diegetic, so you don't, like, there's... Something about Shounen is that just the author feels the need to make sure all the dialogue is diegetic. So they bend over backwards to force the characters to say things that they shouldn't say at all if they're actually going to be a smart fighter, or they have an observer who's watching and paying close attention and able to somehow notice and deduce things. But if you had a narrator, an omniscient narrator, you could just do it. And so, if you're bitching about the narrator in Hunter x Hunter, like, he's doing more than you think.
What's interesting about this fight is, I've said before that I'm a big fan of, like, the close combat, like, very, what's the word? Not the bombat, like, not the over-the-top, like, big, giant scale battles, but, like, the more, like, close quarters, very confined battling, which is really interesting because this fight is not that at all. It's long distance, but it's, like I said, it's my favorite fight in this arc, except maybe Naruto Sasuke. But as far as, like, a technical fight goes, this one is by far my favorite.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's
But there's none of
you
that.
could basically rate fights by technical and emotion, I'd say, and this is really high on the technical side.
Yes.
So
it's not quite like, I know there are more technical, more complicated fights out there in Shonen, but this one,
absolutely.
I think this does a good job at redeeming Neji, because we did so much bitching about his fight against Naruto in the tuning exams. So he gets a moment of redemption.
Naruto, I'm going to give you my whole flashback. I'm just going to stand here and just dump my whole flashback for you.
And then the fight is just a couple of exchanges. But at least like here, it's a long distance fight, but it's very technical. Like, it's kind of, I guess you could say, repetitive, but that's the whole point, is that like he just has to keep doing the same attack over and over again until he figures out where the blind spot is and how to target it. I like it. Yeah,
and then it's a cool finisher with Neji taking the hit, and it's really, it's like, damn, because he's just getting fucking wrecked, but he lets his, he knows his limits better, as he says, and yeah, it was really cool. But then after that, you get the
before that there was he was working with the Byakugan, and then Spider Guy Kidomaru, that's his name.
Yes.
He was like getting close to striking him, but then he used the rotation, so then he's like, okay, I gotta shut down that rotation. So then he gets Neji tangled up in the spider web, so he can't use the rotation, and then that's how he figures out the Byakugan's blind spot, and that's how he starts whittling away.
Yeah.
And then there's also the part where like he summons a giant spider.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Which, I mean, really, it's just a distraction so that he can find the blind spot, but like that's what I like that part of the fight, where normally I say
you don't like the summons.
Well, I mean, like, now that I think back on like that fight from the Tsunade arc, I do like that. It doesn't really play into my issues with giant creatures battling. Right. So like in this instance, if Neji had to like fight the spider and Kidomaru was just off doing nothing or whatever,
and Kidomaru just sort of dicked around. Well, that would be. So basically, okay, I see why you say you don't like summons. You don't like summons because they cause that effect where you have characters just standing around and doing nothing. In a bit, like, a summon should be a 2-on-1 fight, and it should make it a 2-on-1 fight or 2-on-2 fight. But I guess, like, later on, maybe there's stuff where it ends up becoming a 1-on-1 fight against a summon.
Usually where I'll see it happening is, like, a character will summon something, and then they'll just kind of stand behind it and pose, and then it's just a way of, like, drawing out the fight, basically, and that's my issue with it.
And, because, I definitely don't think the Tsunade stuff was like that. But
no, it wasn't at all. It was not at all. But here, he summons this giant spider, but he really just kind of drops it on Neji, and Neji strikes it down. But then that gives Kidomaru an opening to strike. It's not like, oh, you gotta fight this spider now, and I'm just gonna watch, but then you take down my spider, and then we fight again. Like, we don't put the fight on pause just so this Neji can fight this spider thing. And here, like, I think another benefit to this fight is that, like, the curse mark doesn't really play into it. Like, I mean, I guess the amount of what he can summon or what he can do with his chakra varies based on the curse mark. Yeah, but it's not like he just powers up and he's stronger. Like, it's still tactical.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his bow that he can only use with his curse mark, but, again, it's not like he's not doing the same thing he was doing before, just stronger. No, now he can do a different thing that Neji has to account for.
Yes.
And counter, and it's neat. It's cool. It's a good fight. Kishimoto has them sometimes, and when he does have them, they're good, and that's a strong. That's something. It could be a shonen where there are no good fights. Those exist.
I'm trying to think back on like
Hiro Mashima.
I'm trying to think back on like previous fights in the series, and I'm wondering, was this fight like the most? Maybe not the most technical, because I think Shikamaru's was pretty good on that end, like against Tamari.
Shikamaru versus Tamari.
Because he'd planned everything out. I
suppose.
But here, it's kind of like it's more balanced. Like, both characters have their moments.
Yes, it's not, like with Shikamaru versus Tamari, like you said, it's just a complete, like, Shikamaru just dominates her.
But here it's that Neji slowly getting whittled away until finally he gets an opening to strike. Like, there's nothing he can do until Kidomaru thinks that he's won, and that's when Neji gets him.
Yeah, and it's cool.
Might be one of my favorite fights in Naruto as far as like a technical standpoint goes, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm trying to think, like, because like with Rock Lee versus Gaara, it's definitely more of an emotional thing.
Yes.
Because it's just so fucking cool to see Lee kick the shit out of Gaara, and oh man.
Yeah, there's not much technical about that fight, but the emotions deliver so well that it doesn't really matter.
Exactly, yeah. But I think this is the best fight as far as technical abilities go. So, and it's good shit. At least so thus far. Hopefully this fight is surpassed, but
hopefully
we'll see. Oh man, I don't know. I'm trying to remember head, and I'm not. I can't. I don't know. We'll get to the head when we get to a head. But so anyway, are we about done with talking about the fight itself? Because then we get the little stuff afterwards.
Then we get to the death part. And here's now my big issue. I am less of a fan of. See, like as I was reading this, though, I could understand how Neji would live, and I guess my issues with the deaths are not that. Because, like, with Neji, there's nothing established that, like, oh, he did something that will guaranteed kill him. Or, like, this attack will guaranteed kill him. So, like, as far as, like, a technical thing, like, in the universe, I could see a reason for him not dying here. But with the way that his character arc is handled, and the way that he gets his moment, I see. Like, with Choji, he at least has kind of something later on. Neji doesn't have anything.
Yeah. And again, keeping him alive also avoids potential issues with Shikamaru's character, because again, like if everyone died on the mission, like Shikamaru would have to deal with that, but there's no real time to deal with that before the time skip. So
the thing about Neji compared to Choji is that, like, so say with that moment at the end where Shikamaru, like, he has that kind of moment of relief where, like, his friends aren't dead, and I guess the idea. Because in that moment, you kind of pitch this idea that just because you lost someone, you're getting all broken up about it, and then you have the moment, your friends are still going to go on these missions anyway. Which I think with Choji, I think that works, because then it's like he's your best friend, you almost killed him, but at the same time, in the hands of someone else, he might actually die. But the thing with Neji, Neji doesn't have that personal attachment to Shikamaru. Right, Neji's not his best friend.
I think Neji could have died, and it wouldn't. Like, I don't know about what happens later, because all I know is Neji does die later, way later.
Then there's that moment where he does die later, and it's like, oh, this is a big dramatic thing. But it's basically like rehashing what he says here. Like, oh, Naruto, you have better eyes than I do. Like, that was set up. Like, some... Because I think of when he dies later now.
Your Neji... Like, is that when we're gonna get our Neji rant? Or is this your Neji rant?
This is my Neji rant. Because if I said it there, I'd be repeating myself, which I guess would be fitting, because Neji repeats himself when he dies. So there. It's a new context. I get it. But, like, the context of what he's... Or not the context, but, like, what he's saying doesn't really change when he does die later. Which makes me think someone else could have sacrificed themselves, and you could have had a cool character moment for them. But instead, let's just rehash Neji's moment from the Sasuke Retrieval arc.
Yeah, because I mean, you get a little bit with another subtle, not so subtle moment with the feather falling into his hand.
Yeah,
with it's symbolic. Oh, he dead, but no, he's not dead. So I mean, I never really thought of Neji, because I don't know, with like Choji, he ate the pill, so it's like, where it's like, if I eat this, I'll definitely die, and then he definitely doesn't die. But with Neji, again, like you said, it's not really, he could have survived this, like, but again, I think, like with Choji, he's a more minor character, like, because that's the thing, that's the whole point with Choji's thing, is he's coming into his own with this fight. This is him finally doing something as a character. But with Neji, he's already had character moments before in his fight against Naruto. So this is just kind of following up on that, and he's just reaffirming what he learned. Like, yeah, he's changed since then. That's all that we really get here. It's not even really like I don't like, we already talked about how Neji's character was basically killed, and this really isn't like changing that in my mind. Like, it's not terrible. It's just not super interesting either. Like, because he doesn't have any character anymore. That's a bit harsh, but
I mean, like, you're not entirely wrong. Like, he doesn't, like, his character doesn't have a huge impact in really anything on the story going forward, except for that one moment where he dies. Like, he does, I guess, show up and do stuff, and I don't know, like, would you keep him around just to have an extra pair of Byakugan? But other characters get introduced later on with Byakugan. There's a whole clan of people who can use it. You have Hinata exactly, over there. She can use the Byakugan. She's relevant, but I don't know why Neji had to live. It's not like I hate Neji or anything. It's not like I want to see him dead, but just with the way his character is written, I think it would have made a ton of sense to, and especially like how Kishimoto handles the deaths more, like semi-subtly, even though they're not actually deaths, but he doesn't,
I mean, if not to us, like, I could see someone younger who's not paying attention, not really noticing the imagery. But, to us, it's not really subtle.
Yeah.
Because, at the end of the day, Naruto is still intended for younger audiences, and I'm fine with things and younger audiences lacking in subtlety. Because this is, for someone really young, this is their first time interacting with these tropes and ideas, So it makes sense for it not to, them. If it was subtle, they might not even catch up on it at all. At older audiences, I would expect that they trust in their audiences more. But yeah, so... I forget what my point was.
You could be a lot more blunt with this information, though. Like, it could have been much more in your face about the fact that he might die here. But yeah, I know I've gotten flack in one of my worst videos I've ever made. That first Naruto video I did, where I have a little caption. I was like, "People died," and then there's the notation, "Well, Neji died," because he's like the only like big protagonist guy who goes down. Like I'm not going to get too much into it because we'll get to that later, but like as far as like significant characters who we already were developed, like we had already been conditioned to feel an attachment to, Neji's the only one who really goes down in the Ninja War, but it's Neji. He's like, you could have had a far more interesting, not interesting, because not to say that Neji's not interesting, but by that point he wasn't as interesting. Like he did what he needed to do. His emotional impact dying there was a lot more watered down because like you had the moment here, and he just doesn't do it. Yeah,
right. So it's he quote unquote died and quote unquote came back here already. So it's like, well, what's another death going to potentially do? Like that's the huge risk with killing with the fake character deaths, is that you just sort of like break the trust between author and reader. Like if there was if Jiraiya died later and I just went like, oh, he'll be back in like a chapter or 2, maybe 10, then the moment would have zero impact. But, I do know Jiraiya dies, but I also know that Kishimoto is able to kill a character when he wants to, really needs to. But then you get stuff like this that makes it ambiguous in the first place, and so, knowing he definitely kills Jiraiya, I think helps, because it keeps a character that sticks. That's nice, But
up until this point, you've never really had a scenario where like Naruto and like his peers are in trouble, like they're in the near death.
I mean, Sasuke died. Not really.
Yeah.
That happened in the Wave Country arc. I almost forgot about it until just now.
That's true. Yeah, so this is another kind of reinforcing that big significant characters that are Naruto's peers plot armor.
Yeah.
Although maybe that's not the most accurate description of this instance, because it's just Neji, it's just Choji.
I mean, luckily, I don't think there are any other fake deaths this arc. I think this is the last one.
It is, because the other characters get into dire straits, but they don't like fake die.
Yes, they have a slightly different alteration to their how their fights, how they're structured. But
that's why I wouldn't complain about any of them not dying, because like it was never set up that way in the first place. The issue with Neji and Choji is that it seems very likely that they will die, but then they don't. So I almost wonder if maybe Kishimoto was thinking about writing off some characters, and then like once he got up to this part,
maybe his editors said no, or the popularity poll said no.
Maybe,
because before we get into the rest of it, there was another popularity poll. Did you see it? Or
yeah, I did see this, but it wasn't like there wasn't anything that
it's not very interesting.
Yeah, nothing stood out to me, so I didn't really take much note of it.
Sakura is somehow doing better than ever. Not ever.
I think she did
best in her first poll, but she's doing better than last time, despite having not done anything.
I'm so glad that the pig was not in this poll.
Thank God, he's not that much.
There was also a jutsu poll on top of that, which was interesting.
Yes, and of course, Chidori and Rasengan.
Yeah.
Or no, Chidori is number 3. What the hell is Lightning Blade?
That was Kakashi's Chidori.
Oh, I didn't know they had different names.
So they're both there twice.
So Chidori actually has like 3,000 or has like 7,000.
I think the difference is that like I don't know if up till this point they've been used differently, but I know later like the Chidori will get a more interesting spin to kind of separate it from the Lightning Blade. But here they're pretty similar.
Because this arc even has Sasuke. I don't know if you're speaking of later as in later this arc or later in the manga, but because Sasuke does the sort of Black Lightning Chidori. So there's that, I guess, but
Although I think, what was it, like the Shadow Possession was 4th, I think? Or it was in the top 5, it was up there.
Yeah, Shadow Possession, so, because and Summoning is number 5th, even though you don't like it. No, it's...
I mean, like, the Summoning is fine.
Interesting. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I don't think it's that.
But,
I don't know. I don't think it's as creative as some of the other ones.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's very versatile. Like doesn't not every sound ninja, but like two or three of them use summoning. Yeah, and it's just like okay, you can't stop. It's maybe getting a little overused.
I just I know when I see the top spots are all main character powers, but then fourth is shadow possession. I'm like yes, because shadow possession is really cool.
Well, even Shikamaru is the fourth most popular character in the poll, and that's okay. Iruka's also really high up there. I don't really get that because I just don't think about Iruka. Like, even though he's supposed to be this major figure in Naruto's life, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's that guy from chapter 1. Like, I don't do you particularly care for Iruka?
I kind of take back what I said. I remember in I think the first podcast I had given him a little more criticism than maybe he needed because he wasn't he didn't do as much in the world of Naruto, but I do like him as a role model for Naruto, as a kind of
I don't dislike him. I just don't think about him.
Yeah, he's not I wouldn't put him I wouldn't vote for him in a popularity poll of the best characters. He's there, but he doesn't do a lot. See, he's okay, but he's. I mean,
it's just weird to see him. He's higher than Lee. He's higher than Itachi. He's higher than Jiraiya. It's just
oh my god.
Honestly, as a character, the only of the these top 12, the only one I'd put him above as a character is maybe Sakura, and that's not not because he's bad, just because
he's not Sakura.
He's just Iruka. He's practically a background character in my mind, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
But I'm thinking we're
even though I don't dislike him, I just his popularity is weird to me.
Yeah, but otherwise, I think we're seeing a pattern here where the top 3 are Naruto, Kakashi, Sasuke. I think it's basically going to stay that way for the rest of the series. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone else comes up and they're really cool, but I highly doubt it.
We'll see. So anyway, Orochimaru is he can't take it anymore. Before
you go too far on that, I want to respond to what I said in the last part, where I talked about how Orochimaru, the pain in his arms, I couldn't really empathize.
Oh, yeah.
Here, you get a shot where you see his arms are all cut up, they're all sliced up and they look terrible. So I can rescind my criticism from the not rescind it completely, because that arc didn't show anything to get me to figure out what was happening.
See, they're so fucked up. It's oh yeah, no wonder you can't cast any jutsus with that, man. Eesh. He's making the pain more visceral, more tangible.
Yes.
We can tell what's happening. Literally, his arms are just fucking sliced up. He's got gashes everywhere. It's pretty gnarly. But that's the thing about doing this podcast as we go, though, because sometimes we'll complain about something. I remember in the first episode, we talked about how Sakura's noticing the clones, and I was like, well, if you can tell the clones apart, then why is it a clone? But then it turns out Sakura's good at that thing, so it makes sense. But not in the chapters we read.
Not in the moment, which is kind of important.
Yeah, I feel that maybe even that's a once an episode thing where we're this is a weird thing, but then next episode it's oh, that's fine. It's fine
because
now.
we are covering a whole arc, so I would think, except in the tuning exams,
hopefully not.
I would think this will kind of be a recurring thing. It wouldn't surprise me, because there's just so many details you have to take in with each arc.
Exactly. So anyway, Orochimaru, his arms are actually hurting, and then everyone fights to the death so Orochimaru can get a new body. And then we're kind of introduced to Kimimaro.
Fucking Kimimaro. I hate him.
Oh, it turns out it's actually the Sound 5.
I hate Kimimaro so much.
Really? Okay. That's fair. He's almost a non-character. I wouldn't now, maybe not non-character, but who cares? I've always been oh, whatever, it's Kimimaro. I'll save my more criticisms for when he actually shows up. That's fair. Yeah, because I know you sent me a message on Discord.
I no longer
with
move
one
using
panel
flesh. I use the power of my mind. What does that mean? What does that mean, Craftsdwarf?
Well, my body moves with the power of my mind. It's called my brain. It sends electrical signals to my body, and my body moves.
But you no longer move.
I don't know
using
what Kimimaro
flesh.
is talking about.
Your flesh is you're not moving with your flesh. How are you moving?
Kimimaro is a fucking idiot.
You mentioned his high level of Christ consciousness. That's the only explanation.
Yes, he's moving his body with his Christ consciousness. That explains it. Okay, so anyway, is there anything really to say here? Like Kimura we'll talk about later. Like now they're just like, oh, he exists, and then now he wants to. He likes Orochimaru a lot, I guess. Sure. And then the guys, Orochimaru's got his new body. The remaining trio meets back up with the Sound 4. And Kiba, it's Kiba's turn.
Now, this is when things do get a little interesting, because Kishimoto, I think maybe he realized that the whole splitting off into 1v1 fights while the others pursue the others got kind of boring. So here things get spiced up a little bit. Because, like, the way that they branch off is an accident. Like, they get blown off the side of a cliff, and they just fall. So that's how they get separated. It's not like, I'll hold them off here. You go, I'll hold them off. It's like they just fall.
Yeah, right. And then now it's just down to 2. So, and then you get Kimimaro. Oh yeah, I kind of like how they're bringing Kimimaro to sort of like. Well, now it's like there's a third person, so it's like, okay, so you might have been thinking, okay, Shikamaru fights one of the rest of Sound 4, and Naruto fights the other one, but no, Kimimaro comes in, it's like, okay, so there's a little bit of, like, we know that Naruto fights Sasuke, but reading for this for the first time, you might be trying to set up the fights in your mind, and then, so now, adding another character, it seems kind of like, oh, wait, what?
I don't... Yeah. I like nothing about Kimimaro. So, like, Up at this point, because Kiba and Sakan, they fall into the river. They fall off the cliff. So then it's 2-on-1. It's Naruto and Shikamaru against Toyuya. Or is that her name? What? Is it Toyuya? I feel like I have the first letter wrong, but it's something like that.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I miscounted the Sound 4. Anyway, but yeah, go on. Or I think it's Toyuya, and then Sakan. Yeah, I think you got the last two names right. Sakan and Toyuya. Yes.
Yeah. So then you have. Because the other two have fallen out, so now it's 2-on-1, so that's something different. And you do get, like, a little bit of a tiny interaction there, but then Kimimaro shows up, and this is when the arc really slows down, because then you branch off into 3 fights that are happening simultaneously, which I would think would make it more interesting, because you can cut back and forth, but... Like, at this point, at this point, things get really tedious, because we've just gone through 2 full-fledged fights that have, like, this is now over the course of, like, 2 volumes, those 2 characters got to fight the other people.
Right, and now we have, like, 3 volumes, maybe a little bit more than 3 volumes left in the arc, and, yeah, there's 3 fights to go through,
Kimimaro just kind of, like, it's not that he hadn't been set up, but, like, his purpose in this arc is to... just provide an extra conflict. Like, obviously Toyuya isn't strong enough to hold off Shikamaru and Naruto on her own, even though, I mean, Kishimoto could have just made her the strongest of the 4, and maybe she was super... I wonder... But, like, then, okay, so
Well, I mean, she even summons, so he could have, he could have done something. He could have done something
there.
But maybe have them fight for a while. Like, cause yeah, you could basically take Kimimaro and Lee, like, out of the arc completely, and the only thing you can't do is have the full Sound or Sand Village rescue, because, I mean, that's obviously the thing, is that they have the 3 fights going at the same time, and the 3 Sand ninjas come in to rescue them, so...
or how about this? What if instead of Kimimaro showing up, and then Sasuke getting out of the pod, what if he got out here while Toyuya is holding off Shikamaru, and then Naruto can just chase after him?
That's what I was...
The thing with Kimimaro is that he's kind of pointless. Like, he shows up, and... really, it's just a way to draw out the arc further, and that's what makes it so tedious, is that,
And the other annoying thing about it is that, like, Kimimaro, he like, shows up immediately. Like, I mean, maybe you could say that the Orochimaru stuff happened earlier, but then Kimimaro just, like, I do... How did he find them? I don't know.
That's part of what makes the time thing so confusing, is that, like, certain characters... are off doing things that takes a little while.
Lee does the same thing later.
Yeah.
He leaves they've been traveling for like a day. Like it's what time? It's like probably like late in the day. So, but like, and they've been traveling since earlier. And Lee just boom, he's there. He finished the operation and boom, he's just there. He moves at the speed of plot. So.
But Kimimaro, like, we don't first meet him until like halfway through the arc, and then. He gets sent out, and he's just there immediately, and then...
Like, I mean, at least in this case, you could sort of argue that, maybe they're going to Orochimaru's hideout, so it makes sense that Kim... But then with Lee, it's like, well, what the fuck? They've been leaving the Leaf Village, and then boom, Lee's there, so, yeah, it's just... yeah, like you said, it definitely fucks with the time of this arc.
Kimimaro is just another obstacle to overcome. Like, he stalls Naruto for a bit so Sasuke can escape the pod, and then when Naruto needs to go after Sasuke, another character shows up to keep him busy.
I mean, maybe you mentioned Naruto, and I don't remember, but in your video on Hero Academia with the first one on the Stain fight, where you're talking about how it was cool the way that the characters come in at the right moment. Like, I feel like you were arguing against this arc of Naruto with the characters, like, cause, yeah, how did Lee know where to go to find Kimaru? How did Kimaru know where to go to find Taya? How did each of the sand ninjas arrive exactly when and where they needed to? Like, out of fucking nowhere. It's just,
yeah,
it's cheap.
Cause, like, the thing with the 4 character, or the 5 that were originally pursuing them is that Kiba and Akamaru could sense them. Like, they had that ability. That was why they were there, was that they could track them down. The other characters don't have anything like that. They just show up.
No, exactly. Like, it's just, yeah, I don't like, I definitely think that, like, after Neji's pretty good fight, I agree. I mean, I read so fast, I don't really care for the, like, I don't think, like, maybe if you were reading on, physical volumes or downloaded volumes, you probably wouldn't have as bad an issue with the pacing. Like, cause I personally didn't, like, well, it definitely does take a while.
In defense of, like, the pacing, the way that I read it, I'm still reading much faster than I would have ever seen it in the animated form.
Oh God.
So, like, it feels much better in the manga than it did in the anime, but still, it's more so, like, the story is losing me at this point, rather than just, like, on top of there being a lot of pages to slog through.
Yeah, because the fights aren't, like, I mean, you know, Neji was a good fight, but, like, because Kiba, you have kind of the same problem as with the Choji fight, where it's like, oh, he's got this technique that if he uses it, they won't be able to fight, or whatever it was, and it's just like, okay, why didn't you use that against Naruto? Did you? I mean, maybe, like, maybe they didn't want to.
I think in their defense was that earlier in the arc, they said, like, Naruto was like, I'm going to show you my new technique, and he was talking to Shikamaru, and then Kiba's like, well, I had developed a new technique, and I thought I had surpassed him. So I guess this was what he was talking about?
Yeah.
And you do get the setup with
that's fair.
Akumaru marking the trees, which is how... But, we want to talk about characters talking and why a narrator would have been good. Here, so, their ability, the advanced Fang over Fang, or whatever the heck, where they turn into the giant beast.
The Satoru two-headed wolf?
Yeah,
is that what
they turn into the giant wolf, and then they do Fang over Fang thingy. But they, like, Kiba outright says, like, we can't see you because we're moving so fast, so we track you with our noses. And it almost makes me wonder... when Sakan wears his jacket later to mask his scent, how did he know that would work? Maybe if Kiba didn't say anything, like, maybe he could have picked up on it over the course of the fight, but, like, come on. Like, why do you need to say that? You're just giving it away.
And then since you can almost count it as a transformation, so you kind of get like, oh, there's more. It's just transformations again.
That too.
You know, like Sakan's got his double personality, and then
curse marks.
Transformations, and they swap places so the other can rest. You know.
In a way, Sakan has a ton of transformations, because he can split off into 2 individual bodies, but then also reform, but then also the curse marks, and then each individual can vary the curse marks, so, like, at some points you can have
Sakan has several marks. Kiba technically only has the one. Kiba technically does only have the one, but it doesn't last very long, so, you know, but then again, like, that's basically the fight. Like, Sakan tries to, do his possession thing with Kiba, and then Kiba stabs himself, and that's pretty much the fight, like, until Kankuro comes in, you know, later.
Yeah, the most interesting part of Kiba's fight was after the fight was over and he was just trying to escape. Like, he's got this big wound because he just...
Well, because, I mean, at this point, this is a different outcome than we've seen. Yeah. Like, if we were, even, you know, he got separated, so we would expect, oh, Kiba finds a cool way to beat Sakan, and that's it. But no, it doesn't end, so it's sort of left in the air, and you're like, oh, okay, that's different, you know. And, like, to compare this to leaving the Sarutobi versus Orochimaru hanging, like, I'd say this is better because it doesn't leave it hang on this big emotion. Like, with Sarutobi, it was like, I'm going to die to save the village, and then, like, 500 chapters later, he dies to save the village, and it's like, oh, okay.
And, like, especially in that instance,
like,
it's just one moment. Like, when you cut back, it's just, like, the same shot of them in that deadlock. Whereas here, like, things can progress a little bit, even if the situation is still
I mean, I don't think it does come back. I don't think it does cut back until, like, Kankuro is about to come in. Like, so I think it just sort of leaves Kiba off for a little while. But, yeah.
I mean, the way it does kind of like they parallel all three of the fights at the end, where it's like, oh, a character could almost die here, and then they all show up. It's a little iffy, but I do think it's better than the Hokage thing. So I think is that basically it
anyways,
for the Sakon Kiba fight? I think, did we cover that? Anything else you had to say?
I feel like not really. I was going to move on.
Okay.
So yeah, because there's this. Because we get a bit with Kimimaro fighting Naruto, and I do like this. I really like this page with Kimimaro in one panel in the center, and then he's surrounded by Naruto clones, like each individual panel is looking at him.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And I'm just like, yeah, that's a nice panel. Yeah, or like, that's a nice set of panels. It's just some neat art stuff. You know, Kishimoto does some cool stuff with his art sometimes, and it's cool. And you know, we probably. I'm not sure if we could. I don't know. I mention it every so often, but not a lot. We're not talking about a huge.
Now that you talk about like what he does with the art, the Sasuke Naruto fight really has some interesting. Because I know in his like author's notes, he talks a lot about like, I have to figure out where to position the camera and stuff, like when he draws.
Yes.
And I do think that's really interesting with how that comes through in his art. Like it doesn't always work out. Like I know we had issues with that one panel back in the Chunin exams. With
mentioning the camera, there's this one panel here where like. It's like an upper angle of Kimimaro, so his head, it's an interesting perspective because Kimimaro's like, his head is like large, and, but it doesn't look goofy, like it doesn't look like, Kimimaro's an alien, no, it just looks like a perspective shot, you know, like, he could have fucked it up, but he didn't, so it's like, yeah, he does, you know, at least at this point he's definitely doing some cool stuff with his art, you know, every so often, but, you know, and again, like this isn't like there's a lot of fights, but I've never been lost. Like it's not like been like that Lee Naruto exchange where we're just like, what the fuck's going on? This wasn't like that. You know, there hasn't been anything like that. You know, it's all pretty. I mean, he is explaining a lot of things, but other than that, it's all pretty clear. You know,
yeah, it's not like the fights are confusing to follow. I just think they're slow,
and they're not that. Good.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't know. What about the Shikamaru? Because I'm trying to remember. Because I don't have a like Shikamaru. He's dealing with a bunch of summons, and then he's like, he realized that she's doing music things. I mean, they're not talking. That's because she's playing the flute. So she can't exactly talk. Yeah, and he's got to come up with a way to.
On the topic of
that's right. There was some because we talked about the translation earlier.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
I got because he's making chess analogies, but. No, he's not. He's not using chess analogies. He's using shogi analogies, but they localized it because we're Americans. We're dumb Americans. We don't know shogi. You know, this is a pre-Sangatsu no Lion world. Well, not really, because Sangatsu no Lion started in 2002, but it's people know about Sangatsu no Lion in the West world, and especially because we both like the series.
Yes.
So, I mean, I love it, but And so yeah, the only time that was really an issue is because he mentions capturing pieces at one point, and that's like the biggest difference between chess and shogi is how capturing pieces work. In chess, you just you capture the piece and it's dead. It's dead. You can't come back. But in shogi, if you capture an opponent's piece, you can later place that piece back on your own side of the board. That's
the whole thing of what he does.
Shikamaru's saying. That he's capturing a piece in chess, there's a completely different connotation whether he's talking about chess or shogi, and that's not reflected in the translation at all.
I didn't even think about that. I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, now he's got the pawns, but I didn't think no, that's not how chess works.
Exactly, but they just act like they're acting like, yeah, that's how chess works, even though he's talking about shogi. Oh man, yeah, it's not a very good translation. I mean, but as far as the fight itself, the rest of the fight...
I feel like for a Shikamaru fight, this was a little underwhelming.
I do like the moment where he's, under the Genjutsu and he uses his shadows to break his own finger.
That's cool.
Neat little moment.
It's not that I don't like this fight, but I just feel like it's not the best that we've seen from Shikamaru.
Yeah, though speaking on the Genjutsu, how much can you... Genjutsu's just kind of... It's what I was talking about earlier. It's just the same old shit. You're under an illusion and you hurt yourself to break the illusion, and that's Genjutsu is not a very good ability set for an action series. But it's I don't dislike the fight, but I don't really have any strong feelings on it, so it's fine.
I do think it was kind of interesting how he when he first does the shadow possession, he's too far away, but then she kind of breaks. What's weird is how like she could break out of the shadow possession. So I guess it's like, oh, if you have so much chakra, you can just power out of things, which is a bad trend to start setting here.
Yes,
because it makes abilities useless.
He's got a strong ability. Though the other thing is like, I just realized like, because aside from like the time it takes for the shadow to actually move, like they're in a forest, like everything is shadow. He should be god tier here, you'd think, but again, she can just break out of it, so he kind of had to do that. But
What see, another, like, when I talked about the power ups earlier, like just seeing how their designs change isn't particularly, like, a design change indicates a stronger power isn't particularly interesting. Whereas like with Shikamaru, he has developed a new technique. Like, it's not like he is boosting his power, he's just like, now he has the shadow suffocation or whatever the heck it's called.
Yes. Which, I mean, it feels like a natural, like, I mean, I feel like, it's fine for him to use this, like, it's not like a power-up, but it's like, when would he have used it before? Would he have strangled Tamari to death? No. He obviously wouldn't have used it then. And against the 8, tuning, the sound tuning, like, obviously he wouldn't be able to, like, use it on any of it, because, it seems more limited, so it makes sense that he wouldn't be able to, like, so it's fine for him to come up with this ability not quite out of nowhere, but, this is a better example than, compared to, like, fucking Shoji's pills, and, this was fine. It's probably the third best fight in the arc, though that is not saying a whole lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, trying to think if I had anything else to say, because again, I don't have a lot of strong feelings on it. It's fine. I mean,
the part where he like fakes out with like he misses with the kunai, but it's intentional so that she'd pick it up and try to hit him with it just so he could have it like close range for his shadow possession. But it's just not that remarkable of a fight.
Yeah,
it does what it needs to, I guess. But at this point, it almost feels like we're just getting fights because we've already had some fights, so our characters got to fight. This is an action series.
Yeah. I mean, and this fight, this arc is one of the reasons we're doing so many volumes like this is because it is a lot of fights. Yeah. So a lot of page count dedicated to fighting, and we don't really like we with Choji's fight, we just skipped right to the end and started talking about the whole fight as a whole. Like, there's no need to go by a page by page. Like, okay, this thing happens, and how did you think about this thing that happens in the fight? No, we just talk about the whole fight, and that's it. So it's easier to talk about, because I was worried this was going to be like a really long episode, and it still might end up like being 3 hours or so.
But then again, like, we've already covered like 2/3 of the arc.
Yeah, but we're already, like, I mean, there is a lot to discuss with the Sasuke stuff later. Yeah. But yeah, we're a fair ways through the arc, because it is mostly fighting, So, yeah, but
Okay, so do you want to talk about the stuff that comes up with Kimimaro? So, because if I talk about it, it's going to be very biased.
See, now I want you to talk about it, but no, I'll talk about it. Because Naruto and Kimimaro are still fighting, and then Sasuke breaks out of his
okay,
barrel.
Okay. I have to stop you there, because the fight up till that point between Naruto and Kimimaro was boring, because it's just like he just takes out shadow clones, and like we've seen people do that time and time again in the past.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not very... I mean, maybe I missed some stuff. I'm just looking at these few pages right before the... it's like... But it's only like a page, honestly. It's like maybe it was drawn out in the anime, or maybe there's some other pages.
Okay, so maybe Naruto doesn't summon all the shadow clones until like after Sasuke has left, but I felt like Kimimaro took out all the shadow clones, and that gave them time that Sasuke could leave his pod. I thought that's how it went, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, they were just fighting, and then Naruto, like, there's the pod there, the barrel, and then Kimimaro blows with the clones, and Naruto's like, man, he's pretty strong, and then Sasuke busts out. So it's just like a pretty short exchange. Like, I would, like, sure, it's not very interesting, but it's like, it doesn't linger enough for me to say, oh, that's so boring.
I think it was also because these were like, I think this was a point where Kishimoto had been cutting back and forth between the different fights, so it felt a little longer than it was. Okay. Maybe that's why I felt so disinterested in it.
And you're not a fan of Kimimaro, so that definitely didn't help. But we're getting into that because, boom, the handsome blue beast is dynamic entering into the scene. Blue. We already talked about that. Oh, man. So yeah, Lee's in.
And then you get another promise moment where he's like, I will hold him off here, that's a promise, now go fulfill your promise.
Yes. Yes, yes, he does the I'll hold him off Shun thing. Actually, there's an interesting panel with Naruto turning away from Kimimaro, and it's interesting because it's like there's 3 Narutos in the panel, and there's like one facing back, and then he faces like he's moving in the panel. Like, it's just, one of those interesting things that Kishimoto does. Just an interesting way to show the movements, I'd say. But yeah, did you have anything to say on that before we get to cut back to the Leaf Village, or?
No, I have more ranting to do about Kimimaro, but not yet.
Yeah, we'll save it for the actual fight. So we get cut back to Leaf Village. Tsunade has succeeded. Oh, we get cut back to those Jonin who got their asses handed to them.
Yeah.
By the. Okay, I just noticed that they're in hospital beds, but the one who's always chewing on like a toothpick or something, he's still chewing on a toothpick. Like, he's sitting in a hospital bed and he's just got a toothpick in his mouth. Like, did he keep it?
Well, I remember him. That reminds me, because in the bit, like, briefly before they kind of like cut away from the fight, there was the part where he spits out his toothpick and it like deflects a shuriken or something. And that was,
okay.
I don't know if that's silly or cool or both, but I love it.
Yeah, I do. It's both. I love it too because I didn't notice it, so I probably was just like, I don't care about these guys, but not. I'm imagining it in my head, and it's really cool.
That's the thing about characters like these, because there are a lot of these Jonin that Kishimoto has introduced. Don't know them by name, but I know them by design.
Characters, yeah. Exactly, yes. Like, I definitely recognize this toothpick guy.
Like, there's the infamous thing with, like, those 2 guys who, like, I think you can even, like, Google that, and, like, it'll come up with the 2 guys. Like, oh, those 2 guys in Naruto. Yeah, those are the ones I'm talking about. Don't know the names, but, actually, I'm gonna try that right now.
Yeah, like he does some good designs, and this is an example. Like, even though the characters are in uniforms, like they're still, for what little you get of them, they're still very distinct. Like, or what little unique there is to them. Like this, because this guy, he usually has bandana and a toothpick, and that's all you need to recognize him. You're like, boom, bandana and toothpick guy. And then this guy with the scars on his face, the triangle of line scars on his face, which is an interesting scar pattern, so it sticks in your brain a little bit.
God damn it, I literally just Googled those 2 guys from Naruto, and they popped up. It's not a joke, like, it's real.
You were memeing, but it was the meme was real. It was reality. Life is just a meme, a series of memes. Okay. Oh man, yeah, that's good. But I just love trying to imagine how this guy got a toothpick in a hospital bed because he's wearing different outfits. So did he ask for it?
Give me my toothpick.
Did Tsunade just know? Did she keep it in his mouth? Did he ask? I don't know, man. It's funny. Anyway, so but yeah, guy comes in. He's like, "Where's Lee? Lee? Did he die? Do I have to die?" And then, nope, he's fine. Oh no, he's gone. Lee. Oh man, and then we get the fun stuff with whoops. Lee didn't take his medicine. Yet there they are, the 2 guys from Naruto. Actually, that's another. There's a couple other guys.
Yeah, for those of you who can't see this, I just sent it this image, and they're there. They're like one of the first 2 images. They're there. They exist, and like the first.
It's on the screen. I hope.
And the first 2 names that pop up, that's them. That's who they are.
Yep, you're right. So anyway, yeah, Lee didn't grab his medicine. He grabbed Tsunade's private potion.
Oh god!
Which you had a nice little reaction to that in private. It's just, I mean, like, because it's so dumb, this localization, because like guy like somehow knows exactly what she's talking about.
Yeah, because like when they first introduced it, it's like he took my private potion instead. I was like, is that something else, or are they like, is that just like how she's describing her alcohol? But then, like, no, they continued going with it again and again, and then I realized
because they can't have underage drinking in a manga aimed at kids, so they have to just awkwardly censor it and just like this isn't like with the chess shogi thing. That's like, okay, people won't recognize shogi, the target audience, because this is a popular series. Like a teenager isn't gonna know. Like I was talking to my little brother about he's like he's older than you actually, but yeah, I was just talking to him about Sangatsu no Lion, and because I liked it so much, and after mentioning after a minute of me talking about it, he's like, okay, tell me what shogi is. Like he was getting frustrated because he didn't know what I was talking about. I'm like, oh, Okay. Yeah, so the target audience in Naruto isn't going to recognize shogi, but it's also pretty young, so they can't have underage drinking. And so, but it's just so awkward, like, because it's the potion punch.
And it especially kind of, I found it comedic when Kimimaro also, like, understood. He's like, oh, a private potion. Like, what the fuck? It bothers me so much. Because, like, I remember, I know that the anime definitely didn't phrase it this way, which is kind of, I think it's interesting, like, what is the difference, at least as far as, like, localization, like, what is the different, like, demographics for comics versus anime? Like, that they would...
Yeah, well, because, I mean, were you watching it dubbed or subbed?
I was definitely watching it dubbed, and I swear that they said the Drunken Fist.
Okay, yeah, so, well, they might have used potion in the original TV airing, but but this was online, so maybe there's different, like, regulations.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Or maybe I'm just wrong. Who knows?
Maybe. I don't know, because it's all very obviously he's drinking alcohol and doing the drunken fist. So, yeah, but it's just it's really dumb that Kimaru also knows that exactly it's a potion. What? But no, I don't know. The other dumb thing is like, okay, Lee has another that. Like he's got his weights, he's got his gates, he's got his leaf hurricane, and now he's got the drunken fist. So it's like he's just the character of he's going to do that. It's like. This is another one, and it just comes out of nowhere.
And the way that guy sets it up, that he's like, "Oh, if he drinks that, bad things will happen." Like we did this at this restaurant, and the whole place was destroyed. It's like, oh my god, he drank alcohol. It's the most sinister thing in the world. He's gonna kill everybody.
It's just like.
Maybe it was a little more tongue-in-cheek than that, but...
I know that this doesn't go anywhere. Does he really use Drunken Fist again?
No.
Does he even fight again?
Except maybe in, like, filler. I don't think he ever uses it again.
So it's just...
It's just a way for him to keep up with Kimimaro for a bit. Which is like, what's the point? Like, why?
Yeah, he doesn't even, like, win. They fight for a bit, and Kimaru's got bones and
stuff. And he sobers him up by cutting his face.
Yeah,
and then it's it.
And then it doesn't matter because Gaara comes in and...
It's not that I don't like Lee being able to, like, use the Drunken Fist. I think that's really cool, and it adds, like, a different nuance to his fighting style, because he's, like, unpredictable and stuff. But this is just not how
it just comes out of fucking nowhere,
and it's not used well.
It's still pretty dumb. It's still pretty... Yeah, it's not... Yeah, like, he doesn't already... Like, he still looks like he's wearing his weight... Or his... Does he have... Are those his leg weights? Maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. Probably not. I would think not, because he's...
Oh, no, they're under his... Okay, no.
Because, like, if he just got out of surgery, why would he put on his leg weights already? But then again, Lee is already... But then again, that's who Lee is. He's he's stubborn. But there's no point.
But yeah, they do some fighting. Like, I don't have any problems with,
I feel like the big
what's going on
with Kimimaro is his ability. Like, he can use his bones. But it's not that I don't think that that's interesting, but just...
Well, he's basically just making swords from his body. Like, it's not real. Like, it's fine.
I don't know, there's some cool parts where, like, when Lee, like, attacks him and he, like, his rib cage, like, flies out.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
But I just... The way he's used in this arc is not interesting because he's very clearly just kind of stalling for time. Like, I feel like you could have cut Kimimaro from this arc, cut, like, Lee, and just do something else.
Like I mentioned earlier, the only problem with cutting Lee and, like, is Gaara. Gaara doesn't have anyone to save like that, but that's it. So...
it's tricky.
And even that, like, is that even worth it? Because I guess we're all
Why did that have to happen in this arc? I guess you could have had that moment in some other thing.
Because Lee and Kimaru are fighting, and then we cut back to Kiba and Shikamaru, and they're struggling, and then the Sand Ninjas come out, and it's basically a Deus Ex Machina. Like, it kind of comes like. I really don't think Tsunade mentioned that she was calling for back.
No,
maybe there was just a panel.
Yeah, there was a panel where she's like, "Don't worry, I planned for this, like, just in case."
But then, okay, so it's not that much of a Deus Ex, but you still have like how, again, my question of earlier of how did they know like where to go, and like because it's not like they're fighting in any distinct place. Like Kiva's in a fucking cave. How did Conquer, like, did they have any sensory abilities like that would have helped them fight?
And also, like, it does feel very Deus Ex Machina-esque because like she says that she had this backup plan, but like that's like a like in or the chapter before they show up.
Is like there's a whole big deal about how, you know, like okay, by the way, Guy is just doing nothing. He's just there.
No, he
like,
had just come back from a mission.
Something?
Like that's, and he was like, "Where's Lee?" Like
he
he
did
ran
come back
back.
from a mission.
Like I need to see how Lee's doing. So he was busy.
So that's right. He did come back from a mission, but it's like, and then, well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, the whole reason that none of the Jonin can help is because if they fail to do missions, if Konoha turns down missions, then Konoha looks weak. But isn't calling for help from another village, wouldn't that also make you look weak?
Yeah, just and then it makes you wonder, like, why didn't, like, maybe they didn't have the time, like, it was a very quick thing that they had to send out Shikamaru's team, but, like, why didn't you call for backup in the first place? Or maybe that's what they were trying to imply, was that, like, she sent them out and then called for backup, and they only just were able to get there then, but,
Right. I mean, I don't know how far away the sand village, like, were they already on? I don't want to think about it.
Another thing about, like, the sand is that, like, the possibility that they would get involved was only set up, like, a chapter or two before they actually show up. With Lee, like, you at least have that thread where it's been set up in the very beginning that, like, there was focus on him.
His surgery is, so it kind of makes sense for him to come in. Like, I mean, he's still just having, boom,
and
he's
it seems
there.
very rushed,
because,
like, he would have his surgery and show up, like, the next day, which is what he does.
That's a little much. That's a little much, maybe. But, but the Sands, it's just, and it's, like, it's supposed to be a cool moment, like, oh, look, it's the guys from, they're good now, they're good boys. But, it's not, like, we don't get any new character from them, really. Like, oh, they're good now. That's, okay.
The most interesting,
they saved the day.
You do get two things, like, Kankuro doesn't do much interesting in the way of character, but, like, with Tamari, you know, it's funny that you posted that video about shipping, not too long ago, because, Tamari and Shikamaru's interactions, like, I remember when I first watched this scene, I was like, yeah, I'd ship them. Because, like, they seem like a good couple. And, I mean, it's like, but the way you talk about your shipping is that, like here it is implied. Like, it's very intentional on Kishimoto's part. Like, they're having these kind of flirty interactions.
Yes. It's a little too, and I mean, in this case, it actually does go somewhere, I believe, right? They get together, I believe. Yeah? Yes, okay, so no. But yeah, at this point it is like a little tease, just ship teasing, you know? But, so yeah, it's fine. But and then, you know, he's nicer now,
I do like Gaara's thing because he does, like, there is very clearly a difference in, obviously he's not trying to kill Lee, that's a good first step. But he
sorry I broke all your legs.
Well, no, that's the thing though, is that Gaara, when Lee says, like, Gaara shows up and he says, "You're slower than you were before." And Lee says, "Yeah, you really did a number on me." And Gaara says, "I see." But he doesn't apologize for it, which I think, I like that because, like, Gaara's progression turning from evil monster to good guy, it's not just done like that. Like, he's not just...
I mean, I did think his, like, flashback, I didn't care for it. Like, I did my rant on that a few episodes ago. But I do think his overall arc of... Well, okay, maybe. I don't know. We're still getting into that. That's probably next, later. But, you know, yeah, his arc of redemption isn't terrible. Like, I don't think. It's just, I just have issues with how his flashback was sort of...
But as far as, like, what he's doing as a character now, it's okay. Like, it's being handled.
Yeah, that's fine. It just, like, but again, it's also surrounded with all these other issues of just, like, boom, they're there and everything's fine now. And
there are. But I think as far as, like, my favorite part of this, like, them showing up, other than, like, the Shikamaru Tamari thing, which is, it's kind of fun, but it's, like, not in benefit to the arc. It's just, like, a detached thing that I probably shouldn't be a big fan of. That's just, like, my personal bias really shining through, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of go back to the earlier conversation between Shikamaru and his dad with, you know, men need women, and so he needs a woman to save his ass, you know, I guess, is the idea there, you know, but is it really challenging his sexism? I'm not sure, because again, it's like, I feel like the sexism is more on Kishimoto's part.
Because, like, they have a back and forth about, like, his sexist ideals, but they don't really change. Like, it just continues. It's just like, oh, here's another
Yeah,
perspective
right.
to throw into the mix, and Tamari gets to look cool, so suck it, Shikamaru.
Yeah, she actually does something that isn't beating a character off screen.
Yeah.
Or getting, yeah,
She actually
so.
gets to beat a character on screen for once, and quite convincingly, she destroys the whole forest, which,
Yes, that was pretty cool. And then Kankuro, he gets another puppet, and he's doing other puppet things, and whatever.
I must say
It's
that
fine.
this is mostly because
you said you don't really care.
Well,
Ergon?
Kankuro doesn't do anything interesting character-wise here, but just because I don't like Sakan all that much, seeing him get impaled the way that he does, it's very satisfying.
That's one way to put it. Though I was gonna, I forget if we talked about this earlier, because you said you don't like summons, but how do you feel about the puppets? I mean, if you don't have any strong feelings on puppets yet, or don't want to share them yet, I know there's a moment coming up where we get to talk a lot about
the
puppets.
thing about
I'm
Kankuro's
sure.
puppets, so far at least, is that it's not like they are fighting for him, like he is using them to fight. Like he's controlling them, he controls what they do. So, like, yeah, he's using them in a distance, but it's not like he's just standing there, like, this is his fighting style.
Yeah, it's just an extension of himself, so that's fair. And then, but he's also doing multiple at once, so yeah. And then like you said, the impalement is cool. So,
but I think the most interesting part about the three showing up is just the interactions between Gaara and Lee, which I think they're cool. I know I did a lot of ragging on like Kimimaro being pointless. He did at least give me this interaction. Because, like, it's an interesting, I think, next step for Gaara's character. Just, like, I think he could apologize to Lee and it wouldn't really change a whole lot. But I think the fact that he doesn't
I mean, what's he gonna
is
say?
a little more...
I mean, he just reminded me of that... I think I mentioned this before, I don't remember if it's on the show or not, but it's like that panel of Sasuke, like, towards the end of the series, like, after he's, like, come back around the good guys and he's just, like, all the bad things he's done, he's just like, yeah, ... sorry. And, like, that's it. He apologized. Everything's fine now. So, yeah, but yeah, I guess I agree with you that if Gaara had apologized, it wouldn't change. Because, like, Lee doesn't hold a grudge anyway,
so it's like, there's no real point.
He's the best boy.
But with Gaara, like, I mean, I kind of already said it, I'm just repeating myself, but, like, he's slowly making that transition. It's not like he's just, I regret everything I've ever done, which I guess it's not incompetent, which is good, but I guess it's also not groundbreaking. So maybe I'm giving it too much credit.
Yeah. I mean, as for the fight itself, like, Gaara's just throwing sand at Kimimaro, and Kimimaro not taking that shit.
I hate this the most. So, like, I mean, Gaara gets to look cool, and then Kimimaro does his abilities, and he does his transformation stuff, which is also used poorly, because nothing really changes other than the fact that he can pull out his spine.
He's bigger, and he's got a tail, I guess, and
he can pull out his spine, which is intimidating, I guess. But what I really hate is when Gaara buries him underground, and he's like, okay, I'm going to bury you down there, and that's going to be it. And then Kimimaro shoots up a giant forest of bones. But that's not it, because then they're like, okay, but he's done. I mean, he shot up, but he's not coming back. He's stuck down there. But then he just appears in the bone, and he tries to stab them, and dies.
That doesn't... Well, okay, that doesn't make sense. Like, how did he becomes bone?
I think, like, it could make sense with, like, the way that he calcifies things, and he can, like, change... Like, I don't see that as being, like, an unbelievable extension of his ability.
Okay,
but
that's
like,
fair.
What is his illness? Like, how?
It's plot illness. He's got the same thing that
this is why
Kaori has in Your Lie in April. Just plot sickness. It just kills. It just does exactly what it needs to for the story.
This is not the first. This might be the first time Kishimoto's used it, but it definitely won't be the last. God,
I thought it was... Oh, God, I don't remember when it comes in later. Oh, man.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
No,
you're gonna love when it comes in.
The evil laughter.
But here...
God. Is it during the war? Because
no, it's actually one of the more significant moments in the series for one of our favorite characters.
Damn it. Oh, God, I remember now!
But
anyway, let's
in this,
move on.
I'd at least say, I think that it's worse. Because, like, okay, the thing with Kimimaro is that he shows up to be an obstacle, and he's an obstacle that needs to be overcome. But Lee shows up, Naruto gets to go on.
And then his personality is he likes Orochimaru and he wants to fight for Orochimaru. That's it. That's his entire character.
Sympathizes with his ideals. But with
what ideals? Sorry,
But when Kimimaro when he shows up and
I'm starting to see why you hate.
But then when it's time to take him down, I hate it because Gaara to this point had been built up to look like a really strong character. But as a result of his fight with Kimimaro, he looks inferior to Kimimaro because it's like, they would have been dead if Kimimaro didn't die because of whatever illness.
Yeah, like, he just happened to die in that moment. Fist plus Gaara is still...
I hate this.
Yeah, it's just...
I want to die.
Yeah, and look at the panel of them, like, him dying. It's like they're just, like, holding their hands up, like, they were completely helpless. So it's like... Kimimaro doesn't even get beaten, really. He just dies, so it's not even...
So...
It's not, like, I mean...
Like, Lee at least has the handicap that he was just done with his surgery, but Gaara now looks... He looks weaker because... Because
Gaara's at full strength, and, I mean, he didn't go Shukaku, which I guess is, like... I mean, maybe they could have, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, okay, Kimimaro impales Gaara, and then he starts going, like, tailed beast, like, and then the fight continues, but, like, what, maybe Gaara would have won in that circumstance.
But as far as, like, what... Because think about it in the Chunin exams, when there was so much build-up to, like, base form Gaara, like, without the Demon Fox. He looked unstoppable. And, like, when Lee first laid a hand on him, that was a big deal. But then here,
and it was
Kimimaro doesn't lay a hand on him, but Gaara is exhausted. Like, he's used everything that he can think of. Like,
in, like, 3 seconds. They fought for, like, 3 seconds. And this is also, I just realized, like, this is the future Kazekage. Like, this is the last time we see Gaara before the time skip. And over the time skip, he becomes a Kazekage. We don't need the Kazekage looking like a chump. This is not good. It's not good.
So
for
not
Gaara.
only is Kimimaro a boring character, he's just a plot device to draw out more tension, to draw the story along, slow things down. But also he makes Gaara look weaker, which I.
And the fight isn't even that good. The fight isn't even good. It's like.
So yeah, I hate Kimimaro. He's easily my least favorite character so far. I hate him even more than Sakura. Okay. Like, it's not even a contest.
Oh yeah, well Sakura, Sakura's a disappointment.
But she's not.
And
I think.
Do I hate her?
At least,
like, I don't know, man. When it comes to hated characters, like, there's a pretty far deep gap between like the ones I really, really fucking hate, who I've already listed on this series, and like ones I just kind of like whatever. Like, it's you have to be really shitty. Or okay, I actually did recently find a character who I actually hate because of them as a character or a person, like, rather than hating just being shitty characters. But yeah, like, Naruto doesn't have like there's like Kimimaro, there's nothing really good about him, but I don't hate him. Like, he's just I don't have the energy to hate him. I don't care. But yeah, he's I definitely see why you do, at least. So
he's a cancer on this series, and I'm glad that he died. He can.
Yeah, he doesn't linger. Like, I mean, does he come back in the war with Tensei or no?
Well, it may be only an anime filler, but I feel like he does come back.
That's right. That would have been the perfect opportunity to add a bunch of anime filler. So you don't know. Yeah, it's
because I know that like the Sound 4 don't come back in the manga, but in the anime they do. So it's possible that Kimimaro also does.
Okay. But I don't know if he was popular or not, because I definitely feel like people liked his bone ability.
I feel like some people do like Kimimaro, and that only makes me hate him more, because it's like, why? How do you like this guy? What does he do?
He's pretty much a nothing character.
He's a nothing character, does nothing really to leave a mark on the story, and he hurts other characters, like not physically, but like in their status. And can we move on, please?
Yes, let's get away from this, because we're finally into the real meat of the arc. I mean, not that the arc up to this point has been pretty mixed, but at this point, it's pretty much old. Like, I have a few little things I'm not a fan of, but
I guess you could say
Naruto versus Sasuke.
We were just talking about Kimimaro. The arc was kind of bony, and now we got to put some meat on them bones.
Yeah. Oh, and here's what you're talking about with the older panels looking really weird in retrospect. Like, look at Sasuke blushing. He doesn't do that. He doesn't blush, but no, but it's like, I mean, one thing I really like about this exchange is that, well, because I even in the comments, I feel like people are saying like, I didn't really feel like these two characters were like brothers, but then reading it, I realized like, that's kind of the point. Sasuke doesn't like. Of course he doesn't feel like Naruto's his brother. He had a family that he loved, and then they fucking died, and that's why he's mad. But then with Naruto, like, the part that probably my strongest emotion in this arc was when Naruto said that, you know, the reason he cares about Sasuke is that he's like, well, maybe if, you know, or, you know, I felt like, you know, maybe this is what it's like to have a brother. And then that, I was like, oh, no, Naruto. Oh no! I felt bad. Like, it was good.
Yeah, like,
and like, cause that's you know. So I think it's fine, cause it's mostly it's one sided, and that's the thing. Naruto cares more about Sasuke than Sasuke cares about Naruto, and that's kind of the tragedy of it all.
And I do like how cause in prior arcs you had seen other characters who had dealt with loneliness, and here, like, Sasuke and Naruto are very similar in that they were both alone, which had been set up in the very beginning when Sasuke talked to Sakura. But here you get to show how they're different, because Naruto never had a family to begin with, which has its own issues for him. But Sasuke, like, his whole tragedy is that he did have a family and now he doesn't. Whereas Naruto can't possibly experience that. But then, like you said, Naruto counters back with, oh, well, Iruka is what I'd imagine a father could be like, and you're like a brother, and it hurts. It hits hard.
Right. So yeah, Sasuke leaving is Sasuke is doing to Naruto what Itachi did to him in a sense. So not really, but you kind of see where I was what I'm getting at there. You know, so of course Naruto doesn't want Sasuke to leave. So it's like, yeah, like, I mean, I also felt like it was. But then another thing I thought was dumb about the whole situation that I was wrong on was that, like, well, Sasuke wants to leave, so what is that? Like, if Naruto catches him and brings him back, then what? Like, what's to keep Sasuke from leaving again? But then reading it, I'm like, oh, it's obvious, because I talked about it before with the curse with Sasuke getting his second curse seal form, where it's like he has power from Orochimaru now, so now this fight against Naruto, you know, it's also a battle of ideals. You know, if Naruto wins, then Sasuke is wrong. If Sasuke wins, then Sasuke is right. So, you know, you can kind of see how it might have gone another way. You know, if Naruto wins, then Sasuke would have, you know, he would have had to concede that, yeah, he can get stronger than Leaf by just chasing Naruto. And Naruto can, you know, so then but no, Sasuke wins. So he's vindicated. He does need Orochimaru to get the power he wants. So, yeah, so yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah,
it's good
it's
stuff.
a good ideological thing.
We'll get to the fight later, but, I guess, did we have anything to say on that sort of build up to the fight? Or, cause there's a whole flashback I forgot about.
Well, now you only just made me think about this, cause I realized the moment happened way back. Well, never mind. I'm just not gonna bring it up now. It's too late.
Okay,
cause I was thinking about, like, how, like,
well, you're bringing up anyway,
original Naruto and,
never mind.
Like the conversation from way back in one of the earlier chapters, but that was way back at the gate. I'm not gonna... It's too late for that now.
Okay. All right. So anyway, okay. I guess if we're not doing that, we're good. We get an extended flashback. I actually kind of like how it segues right into the previous flashback, but with some slight differences, because we get a bit more about the, like, Sasuke's life before the massacre, even, like, where it turns out, like, you have this whole thing where Itachi's like the favored son, and Sasuke is. It's interesting to see the super talented Sasuke as just second rate, you know. But it's such a weird twist on what we've always known his character to be, you know? Like, he's always been this genius kid, but now we see him, he's more like Naruto than we might have initially thought, you know, with him trying to seek acceptance or approval, rather, in a sense. So that was interesting to see. Because even though he's doing so well, he's still just like, oh, keep it up and you'll be amazing, just like your brother. Just his dad just not recognizing Sasuke, and then that being, yeah. So of course, yeah, it's cool.
So how do you feel about where, like in the case of Gaara, his flashback kind of seemed to run counter to his character? How did you feel about this one? Like, it seems like a natural extension.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some moments with Itachi that, again, are weird, looking back, knowing what becomes of Itachi, which we'll get to, but with Sasuke, like, the more I think, like, again, I've told you about how before I wasn't a huge fan of Sasuke's character, but now as we're getting into, like, the stuff with Gaara and tuning exams, and now with this Itachi stuff, I'm finally like, oh, I get it now, you know, like, so, I understand Sasuke's character, and I like, I'm enjoying it, like, at least at this point. Again, it's like, it's the moments late, like, this is one of those later moments I was worried about, but this one was fine. There's still other ones in the future that, like, again, the biggest issue right now is how far can Sasuke go and still before he's considered irredeemable.
Most of the issues that people seem to have with Sasuke's character come in, like, the part 2 of Naruto, the Shippuden section.
Yes, exactly. Like, right. That, the irredeemable moment. Potentially irredeemable moment. So, like, at this point, I'm on the Sasuke train. Like, okay, he's cool. This is good stuff. And, did you think, or what did you have to say? Or did you have something to say?
I mean, I did, see, when I was going back a little while ago, because after the Naruto anime finished airing, like the whole thing, like Shippuden included, everyone was talking about how cool that second fight was in animation between Naruto and Sasuke. So I had watched that, thought it was cool, but then I was like, okay, but I liked the first fight. Like, there were things I liked about the first fight better, so I went back to watch it, the animated form, and it's awful. It's a slog to sit through. I think they might do the flash.
Or which fight is the first?
This is the first.
This one, the fight at the waterfall.
This is what I consider to be the first. Like, it's the first real fight, like the fight that concludes.
Okay. Oh, you're talking. The second one is like a Shippuden thing. Okay.
I think they might have handled the flashbacks in the exact same way, like how it all happens before the fight really kicks off. But it was just paced so poorly. Here it was cool. It was fun. Sasuke.
Yeah, well, we'll get to the fight eventually, but the fight itself. But did you have other things to say on the flashback, or no?
I mean,
because I had some things I noticed. Itachi's like talking outside of the clan about he's like, you fear what you don't understand. And he's like, kind of, I mean, I wasn't sure like if this was like Anbu Itachi talking, like Itachi was going to kill him, or like evil Itachi talking, just stuff like that. Like, my ability has been repressed by this pathetic clan. Like, I don't know, is he putting on again, it's just sort of like weird double agent stuff, or is he putting on a show, or what's going on here?
It's still some details are kind of fishy. Although I think it was really, it was kind of weird how, like I had noted before that the redesign for the Mangekyo Sharingan hadn't been brought up yet. Like when he used it against Kakashi,
he's still just got his. Oh well, there it is.
Well, no, because here's where it's first introduced. But like the first shot of it being introduced is like weird because like it's as his father is walking away. So like I don't. What was it? Why did he bring it out? What was he gonna use it for?
Right, was he gonna Amaterasu? Well, not burn him to death or something? Like, no, probably not. So, it's like was he just? Yeah, and if it's like his emotions flaring up that's causing it, then like why now specifically? Like he's an Anbu guy. He's going to be killing them later. So it just seems like, I mean, obviously the whole thing is that he's under criticism for potentially killing Shisui, which of course he did. So I'm not, it's, I mean, overall, like, I don't think there's anything too, like, breaking of the Itachi thing. Like, it's, like, there was some other things I noticed that made sense. Like, I don't know did I write them down?
I know later on, like, the stuff with Shisui is gonna be kind of expanded on more. Now, those are the details that, like, I didn't have much investment in, so I have like no recollection of what changes.
Yeah, you didn't understand that they were significant at the time, and now you're like, oh, okay.
Because I know, like, once it gets into the Great Ninja War, that's when I started skipping around in the anime, and then eventually just stopped. So stuff with like Shisui, this is kind of like blind to me, so I'll have to figure that out as we go along. But I know things like he gets brought up again later, which is kind of interesting because here he just seems like.
I feel like there was some foreshadowing to towards the real reason for the massacre, but I can't seem to find it. So I'll just say yes, Kishimoto definitely foreshadowed it. Yes, that's
maybe
I'm sure it did. I just can't find
it for some reason. I don't know. Maybe with like the way he was talking about the clan, like something in what he was saying might have been. But I'm trying to think of like what specifically did he say? I don't know if there's anything like too strong of a connection. If there is, I can't think of it.
Yep, and then of course it goes right into the like there's the bit with the he's Sasuke does the fireball jutsu and his dad's like, that's my boy. Just he's finally treating Sasuke as, you know, his own thing, but because he doesn't have Itachi anymore. You know, he's given up on Itachi. But then it goes right into the bits from the older flashback. But then there's some other new scenes, like he talks with his mom, and and then then we get the mask. Or I don't think that there's anything else to say. But,
yeah, because I think like the massacre stuff is stuff we've already seen before.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen it. I mean, well, there's the bit where he says like you have to, like, I guess they're building into the fight with Sasuke. You have to kill your closest friend.
Yeah, that's new.
And yes, so that's some new information, and that's also building up right into the fight. So, there was one other thing that he talks about the truth written in the Uchiha basement. And you're going full Attack on Titan now, with truths in basements. But we don't see what it is.
See, now,
like Sasuke finds it, and I don't remember what it was.
I feel like back when I forget if this was like Chunin exams or like right after, before like the Tsunade stuff. I thought there was a scene where Sasuke, like, I thought that scene that they showed of him like standing in the thing, like that room, I think that had happened like before he first encountered Itachi in the Tsunade thing. Because I seem to recall that happening before.
I missed it.
Because he's got his new design and everything before he went back to the original here in this arc. But
because I don't really recognize the room.
Yeah,
so,
and it's a pretty far off shot, so it's like you can't really tell what.
Obviously, yeah, it's completely illegible, but it's like, yeah, it seems important, but we are not, as the audience, are not privy to what Sasuke read at this point. So Sasuke knows something that we don't. Maybe it's supposed to be like proof about the Mangekyo's the killing friend thing, like just to verify what Itachi was saying. Maybe that's all, or maybe it's something significant that I forgot about later. Because I mean, it's obviously not going to be about the coup or something. Because Sasuke doesn't know about that. Yeah,
he doesn't find that out till later.
I don't know. Exactly. So, but yeah, it's interesting that Sasuke has information that we don't know about yet, but at the same time, because we don't know about it, we can't really dig into it, which is probably for the best, because this episode's already getting pretty. We're already over 2 hours in, so yeah. But anyway, we are almost done though, because we're finally into the actual fight itself. And again, this was a neat... Well, because see, this is, like, we've been complaining about the power-ups this arc with, like, Lee's Drunken Fist and Choji's pills. But, like, at this point, I actually do like it, because you get the moment with Sasuke putting on his headband and, like, he's treating Naruto as an equal, finally. And then... But, like... You really get the sense that they're putting everything into this fucking fight, because, like, Naruto, he gets injured and then he starts pulling out a little tail beast chakra and he gets that big as fucking huge Rasengan, and Sasuke, he goes, I mean, I don't really care for the design of his second form, honestly. Like, I don't really like the shadows on his face with the big cross, I don't really care for that, and, but, and also I don't know about you, but the Black Lightning Chidori, it doesn't look like, it kind of looks like shit in the manga, at least. I don't really care for how it's drawn.
Even in the anime, it's
that's
kind
more
of iffy. Like, it looks sort of grayish.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but so aside from some minor issues like that, like the fact that they're, like, I don't mind them just, their power levels keep increasing, but I don't mind that because it makes sense. Like, their emotions are fucking high.
Yeah.
Of course they're, like, Sasuke just gets a third Tomo in his Sharingan. Like, it just happens. And, I mean, it's not even really meaningful. It's just whatever.
But,
it's cool.
No, it is meaningful, because then he can see Naruto's movements better, and then that forces Naruto to
I didn't
jump
notice
up
that. You're right.
His abilities. But yeah, like, unlike in the other fights where they just kind of, where they could have transformed at any point, and you wonder why didn't they? With Sasuke, like, it has been established that the curse mark takes a toll on him whenever he uses it, so he's trying to conserve his energy, trying not to use it, but then as things get more intense, he has no choice.
When Naruto goes tail beast, one tail.
Yeah, because Naruto, his power is all dictated by his emotion, so as he gets more fired up, he would channel more of his power. And then with Sasuke,
Oh yeah, and the fucking wings. Sasuke growing fucking wings, that was like where I was like, okay, don't care for the wings either. But again, like putting aside some stuff like that, like the fact that these power ups just keep coming one after the other, I don't mind this because again, it just sells how much they're putting into the fight itself. You know, it worked for me. You know, and I can see why it might not for others because again, like it was just more power ups, but it's good shit. It's good. It's good shit. And it's not a very long fight either. It just goes pretty much.
Once you get through that big Itachi flashback, which takes up a good 3 or 4 chapters.
Yeah, the Itachi flashback is way longer. Yeah.
But again, this is where you get some interesting panel layouts. Like I know there's the part where they first clash with the Rasengan and Chidori, and you have like the underwater shot, and you see like there's a lot of full page spreads here, or like shots of like one character one side, one character on the other, and it like not only are the powers like being amped up, it get like the way everything is laid out gives the fight a lot more scale because like you'll have
well, and another thing I just realized is that like they're at their peak performance. Like Naruto's never gone one-tailed before. Sasuke has never gone 3 Tomo and Curse Seal before. But it's like the fact that they're at their peaks, like there's no like, well, I wasn't trying that hard. Like there's none of that. You can't say like later, like, oh well, there's nothing to take away from the fight in the parallels because they're at their peaks as far as we've seen. So yeah, it's good stuff. It's good. It works. But
I think there's also an interesting detail that I remember in the anime that I didn't see in the manga, which was interesting.
Okay,
but how in the manga he develops his third Tomoe, and he can see Naruto's movements, and then he just beats the crap out of him. And then it's right as Naruto, like, what leads to Naruto transforming into his, like, one tail, where he develops that, like, chakra cloak.
When he pierces through his shoulder,
well,
I think?
No, what happens for, like, because first when Sasuke, pierces through him with the Chidori, which... I mean, that moment was kind of...
Yeah,
I thought that moment was pretty badass, definitely when I first saw it. Just like... It's like, wow, he just got destroyed, but he can heal because Nine Tails chakra, that's been established. And then he... stuff. But, this other moment where Sasuke, now he's got the full Sharingan, and, he beats the crap out of Naruto, but then, like, there's a moment where, like, he kicks him into the air, and then there's like another panel cut, and then it's like a cut away, and there's like a noise effect, and then you cut back, and Naruto's just like down in the water.
Oh yeah,
which was kind of weird.
Yeah,
but in the anime, like Sasuke like knocks him off that rock wall, and he gives him a fucking pile driver into like the rocks. It's brutal, but it's it's also an interesting callback to when he fought Orochimaru in the Forest of Death, because I think that might have been an anime original thing too, though. I don't remember if it was in the manga. But like how he basically he does a similar move to Orochimaru, but that might have been an anime only thing.
I don't remember. Yeah, I'd have to go reread the fight or look through the fight again. But I wouldn't even know what to look for. Yeah. So, yeah.
But I'm like, oh, it's a.
But yeah, well, because in that case, I definitely the manga could have used something there because it's just like it's sound effects and then Naruto's in the water. Like, okay, sure.
And plus, it's like a very visceral thing. Like he, like a pile driver. That's I know I'm a huge wrestling guy, so that caters to me personally. Like, right. But you see it like he's driving him like head neck first into this giant rock, and like he splits the rock open. It looks brutal, and you can again, it's something like very tangible. You see it.
It makes sense why Naruto would go tail beast after that. Yeah.
Although I guess it could also be a bit of an issue because then it's like. We know that Naruto can, like, he's got these healing abilities. How much can he heal from? But
yeah, and and then knowing later stuff, you have the whole, like, he can do way more than just one tail. But then that's sort of like, he loses, they do the big explosion and then Naruto's on the ground. But then, I guess you get a weird, this doesn't give Sasuke his Mangekyo, or his, because he that's the thing about this scene is that, you get the moment with, like, his, slashed headband falls on the ground, and, but then it looks like Naruto's, like, there's maybe a bit of a fake out here. It looks like Naruto might die, but then it turns out that, what does Sasuke say? I will not lose control to you. Like, he'll find his own path to power. Like, he knowingly does not kill Naruto. Like, I thought the implication was like of this scene was, or what was supposed to happen here was that Sasuke thinks he kills Naruto and gets his Mangekyo, but that's not what happened. He knows he didn't kill Naruto. Yes. You know, so that was interesting.
It's a good way
like, he's refusing Itachi.
And it's cool that, like, Sasuke, he's turning to the dark side, but at the same time, like, he hasn't gone so far that he would...
He's not irredeemable. There's still some, like, I guess, like what Neji was saying earlier, like, so right now Sasuke's in the darkness, and if anyone can bring him to light, it's Naruto. But even though Naruto failed, like, there's still light within some, I mean, at the same time, like, this moment, he's got a scary look on his face. Like, his eyes are, like, he's not looking, like, happy. And then, of course, it's followed by this page with, like, Sasuke literally walking into darkness as the panel, is just consumed by blackness, and with Naruto, then followed by Naruto coming out of light. Yeah. You know, so, yeah, it's good stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about this post-fight, because
because I thought maybe I'd have more to say about the fight, but there really isn't. Like, it's a fight. It happens. I mean, it looks cool, but there isn't a lot to.
Well, yeah, like again, we said it's like technical abilities. It's not there, but emotionally, like it was. You know, like I said, I like that they were pulling out all the stops against each other. You know, because in a way, it shows that they truly do care about each other. Like, the way they fight each other, it shows how, like, it's a little contradictory, but it works.
I did really like the moment towards the beginning of the fight, now that I think about it, where, like, I talked about how there was, like, the shot, like, under the water, how they use their attacks, but after the fact, like, Naruto looks over to Sasuke, because he's like, oh, you did use your full power, you really were trying to kill me, and then it kind of dawns on him, and that's when, like, I don't know, at first he was sort of reluctant to fight Sasuke, but then he realizes just how far Sasuke has gone.
That was a good. I did forget about that moment. That was a good one because Naruto starts crying and it's like, oh no, Naruto, I feel bad for you. Oh god, yeah, it's just stuff like that. But you know, this is definitely not Naruto's brightest hour. But I mean, like I guess for Naruto's character, this kind of is like his lowest point, isn't it? Like, I can't think of anything in Shippuden that gets as bad for Naruto.
There are moments kind of... Like, I can think of one where he has, like, a little depression thing, but...
Okay, well, I know about there's the hyperventilation. That's a thing that happens. But I don't... Even then, it's like, well, that's... I don't know, I can only think about that as being funny just because of how everyone shat on Naruto for it, because it's just so it was such a over-the-top reaction. But, as far as, like... actual like lowest points for his character, I'd say this is this seems to be the lowest in my mind. Which is kind of a shame because I feel like there's one arc in particular I feel like should have been at least another major low point for Naruto, but kind of wasn't. I might change my opinion on that later.
Does it have something to do with?
This is.
I was going to say, does it have something to do with pain?
Maybe. I might have talked about it to you before. I don't remember. But yeah, like, as far as the lowest point, like, you know, I don't mind the 3-act structure. If anything, I kind of like it. But, this is a little early for Naruto's lowest point as a character, I would say. Just throwing that out there. Like, we're only at, chapter 200 something out of 700. That's like, we're barely a third of the way through the series.
As we're going through this, it, like, really... Because I was going through trying to look at, like, figure out how we were going to structure all the later stuff. And I was looking at it and I was like, wow, we're not even, like, we're barely a third into the series, which is crazy thinking, these first 230 or so chapters, whatever it was, they're really packed with, there's a lot of good material in here. And it does feel like we've gone through a lot, but we've still got so much to go.
But at the same time, I mean, I feel like the war is going to be kind of like this arc, where it's just a lot of fighting, so it'll hopefully go by a bit quicker. Like, I mean, yeah, sure, this episode is probably getting close to 3 hours now, but at the same time, we're covering more. This is the most material we've covered, you know, in a single episode. Like, I mean, I think maybe part 1 of Tuning Exams was like 6 volumes, and this is like 6 to 7 volumes, so it's a little bit more than the part 1 of Tuning Exams, but, you know, and even the Tuning Exams, it ended with the preliminaries, and there was a lot of fighting, so... You know, fights are just quicker to talk about in general, I think, as far as, like, page count per minute of discussion. So, and the war is basically pure fighting. So hopefully that'll go quicker. But we'll see how that goes. And then there's a lot of other stuff before we even get there. So
another thing, I know we're way past it, but like back when Naruto, because I only just thought of it, back when Naruto and Sasuke like first in the hospital, where like you talked about how Sasuke gave Naruto that really like evil look, and I did like how Naruto's reaction, it wasn't because like before in any other arc before that there would have been like, they both would have been at each other's throats right off the bat, but in that instance Sasuke gives him the look and Naruto's just like, what? Like he doesn't like because normally they had that kind of sort of immature rivalry where they would just kind of go back and forth at each other. Naruto doesn't do that. He just kind of takes it. Like he just kind of feels, because like as he's going into the hospital, like he's very upbeat. Like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go see Sasuke, which is not something that definitely like Land of Waves arc Naruto would not have done that. He would have been like, yeah, I'm gonna go visit Sasuke, which
Yeah, because Sasuke spent that whole Tsunade, or the second half of it, just completely unconscious, and
I do think it's a good setup
Naruto,
to the
of course, head is
how
growing,
the dynamic in their relationship has shifted, which is, just that whole early part did to really set this up.
I feel like this arc it's like the reverse tuning exams in a sense, because like the tuning exams had a lot of great build up, but a lackluster payoff. Well, this arc had a lot of lackluster. Well, at least the payoff was great with Naruto and Sasuke, and even the build up was fine. But then you had all the other I think
it was the middle section that really fell flat. Like I think the build up was good, and then you got Kimimaro came in. And
just three-way fight. Again, like the issue is like even the second best fight of the arc, the Neji fight, still ends on this fake character death that didn't really like. So even the second best fight in the arc still has that attached to it. So you got like, the early chapters are fine, but then once you get into the actual arc and the chase, and it's just like, okay, and then it just, the middle part is even worse, and it's like, but then, then you get the Naruto Sasuke stuff at the end, it's like, okay, it ends on a good note at least.
Yeah, so at least it kind of meanders a bit, but at least it finishes strong.
Yes, exactly. So, it was, so it's pretty interesting in that, like I said, as a reverse tuning exams, but, okay, so are we about done with talking about because we're getting into like the recovery, the end chapters with Neji and Shoji getting all healed up from their not deaths because
they're not dead.
We already talked about that. Oh man. We do get the moment with Shikamaru talking with Tamari and his dad about like because he's his first mission he lost. I think we already talked about this.
I talked about it a lot when I was ranting about Choji and Neji. But Tamari's there too, and you get more of like the conversation. I do like how Tamari also plays into that, like what his father had said, like how she's just like, oh, you're just being a wimp just because your friends got hurt. It's a good contrast in character there.
But yeah, we did already talk about a lot of that moment. So we're almost done, though. We're almost done. Oh, yeah, they did the Shikamaru and Tsunade talk a bit about medical ninja. And we're starting...
And then, of course,
we're starting to get into the setting up for the time skip.
Setting up for the time skip. So, like, that conversation with Tsunade and Shikamaru, really, it doesn't accomplish much, but the whole point of it was, like, to set up the thing with Sakura, how she's gonna...
Yes, and that's also going into this, like, here's one of those Sakura moments, and just like, because she's like talking with Naruto, and she's like, Naruto's like, yeah, but I'll definitely rescue Sasuke, and it's like, and Sakura's like, well, next time I'm coming with you, and that's true.
Yeah.
But this is still Sakura we're talking about.
The thing here is, the way like the emotions play out, because like obviously Naruto like couldn't fulfill his promise, so he's very upset. But Sakura just kind of comes in and she tries to like shrug it off, but it's clear that she's not. She's not having it. Like, she doesn't really look at Naruto. She goes right to the curtains, and she's like, oh, you should open the curtains. It's such a bright day. And he's like, I'm gonna live up to my promise. I'm gonna get Sasuke. But she's like, don't worry about it. Like, she's trying to, like, put that out of her mind. So you can tell that she's still dealing with some pretty heavy emotional baggage, but she's trying not to let it show.
Yeah, and then after it, she gets she asks Tsunade if she can be her apprentice. It doesn't... I'm trying to think, like, it definitely doesn't come out of nowhere, but it's also, kind of I'm trying to think like on Tsunade's side of it, like this is like the first time they've interacted.
But she does mention like Kakashi had talked about like how like I mean it had been set up with Sakura like she was really good at chakra control and like basically the stuff that you need to be a medical ninja. So like Kakashi, I guess, had told Tsunade about
it's
that.
Not, and of course, obviously, there's the parallels with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. Yeah. Like there was a moment where I think, there's a little later on where I think Jiraiya he's talking with Naruto or Kakashi. He's comparing himself with an Orochimaru to Naruto and Sasuke. Yeah. There's even a flashback with Orochimaru presumably leaving the village and Jiraiya. And then they fight, and it's almost like the same thing. And Jiraiya's comparing it to, so you get obviously the parallels are there, but again on Tsunade's side, she's just sort of like, okay, I'll take it as a student, I guess, So it makes more sense for Sakura's character. But then but even then we don't really get a whole lot between them. Like we got like one scene later with a fish, and that's about it. So at least for the time, I don't and maybe there's stuff after the time skip that I'm forgetting. But, I don't know. They're both the forgotten thirds of their respective trios, so whatever. That's just to be expected, really.
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Just didn't really have anything to say.
That's fair. Okay. Then we get the scene with Naruto talking with Jiraiya, and again we get the comparison. And, Jiraiya says the thing I was thinking about how, like, Sasuke, if Naruto goes and finds Sasuke again, like, he's not gonna be able to bring him back. But Naruto insists that he can, which is, I mean, at this point, it's hard to say, like, at this point, but, they result in that Naruto and says Naruto wants to get stronger, and, everyone's training, everyone's, better, they're gonna get stronger. There's the big old, that's right, there's the other thing, because, we get the Zetsu showed up earlier, and I was like, that, which surprised me. I forgot he showed up this early, and I was just like, oh fuck, it's Zetsu.
Yeah, and at this point, it seems really like assuming you don't know who Zetsu is, like this is your first time reading it. It's cool the way he just kind of shows up, and it's like, oh, he's got the Akatsuki robes. It's another guy, but knowing who Zetsu is, I just want to shoot myself.
Spread of all the.
But sorry, you were saying something.
Oh man! But then we get the spread of all the Akatsuki and Shadow doing their little meeting for.
What was interesting about that? I was trying to read their designs to figure out who was who, but I couldn't really see much. Like I saw Kisame and Itachi, kind of, maybe.
But then
like couldn't even pick out Zetsu. Like you'd think that kind of like claw thing would.
I mean, is that him in the background? Kind of like with but even then, it doesn't look quite as. Or is that Sasori, who also looks kind of shorter, and because Sasori kind of like he's like a slug almost. He's just.
You do get a pretty big shot of pain, but that's like it.
Well, yeah, even
like I think that looks pretty distinctly like what he shows up as later, but.
And who's this really big one who's like twice Kasame's size? Like, who the hell is that?
So I was trying to think like where Hidan. Kakuzu?
I don't think Kakuzu's not that big.
So I don't know.
So, that's the thing with silhouettes because I feel I'm trying to remember because I feel like the author who, or at least this might just be personal bias speaking, but the author who really popularized those sneaky silhouettes might be Oda. Maybe there's other earlier like we'll read stuff older than One Piece, but Oda really loves the silhouettes, but there's a lot of moments where it's like you compare the silhouettes to the actual like characters revealed, and there's always differences. There's always design changes. It's so I don't mind them being quote unquote like off model. Like they're not off model. He just hadn't finalized the designs yet, so I'm fine with that. But it is it's always funny to look back and see like, well, these guys don't look anything like who's the fucking fish. Like,
because even with the Itachi, there was a bit of a change from when we first saw him, like the shadow. And then when he showed up later, like, he looks a little different. But here it's like, they almost, like, none of them really look like what we'll see.
Well, because you're looking at the spread, right? Or, because, like, who's the fish in the middle? Like, it looks like an upside-down fish. I don't know what else it's like. There's someone floating there, and they got, like, a little fish tail
I was really
top,
trying to figure out, like, the way that, like, things were laid out. Because, like, from what I could see, like, Itachi was on one side, but Kisame would have been on the other. But maybe they weren't Itachi and Kisame.
Well, I guess Kasami's got to be the one on the far left with the big old sword. That's
what
the
I
hair.
thought.
That's obviously
but then, like,
Kasame.
the sort of rounded hairstyle was all the way on the other side, and that was Itachi. And I was like, is that him?
Oh no, there's. I thought Itachi was the one under the
Maybe,
fish.
I don't know.
With the rounded head and it's fairly simple. So, but yeah, it's like I can't tell who most of the others are, and there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's only 9 here. So I guess they're missing someone. I think, or maybe Pain's not in the frame.
He gets his own thing. I
don't know. It's weird
because then like you jump to the next page, and then it's like we will get the tailed beast or whatever.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, at this point, they're or wait, hold on. Okay, he says, I guess at this point he finally settled on the tailed beasts because he says we'll secure them all, including the nine-tailed fox. So all being the tailed beasts. So yeah. Oh, and then that's it. I guess the Akatsuki meet up, and the Naruto and Jiraiya go off to train, and everyone else is training. And Sakura is somehow summoning a fish will help her. I guess she's doing an operation on the fish.
So she can learn how to heal people, so we start with the fish.
Yes. Or maybe she's just... I don't know. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, and everyone else is doing the training, and everything's fine. No one died. Sasuke's gone. That's it. And then that's it. Naruto part
what
1's
I thought was
over.
particularly
We're a third of the way done with the manga.
About like how this was set up was like how it actually does say in the manga, like Naruto part 1. End or concluded or whatever, because like I didn't think there was a distinction like that. I figured that was just an anime separation, but it's not the same as like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, where it kind of just seems to come out of nowhere due to like the staff or
with Dragon Ball there's other time skips too, so the one going into the Saiyan stuff isn't even really that significant, so it's just another time skip, and except Goku has a son now. Like that's the biggest difference between that time. Yeah, he already honestly as far as character design goes, like him going from kid to adult is a way bigger change. But with this one, there's only one time skip in Naruto, so it makes sense for this to be the part 1, part 2 divide.
I thought it was interesting that the manga points that out though, and I'm pretty. I'm mostly convinced that this was definitely a jump thing, because I know at the beginning of this volume, like the last volume of this arc, he mentions, I really don't think that Naruto should be split into parts, but, he kind of goes through with it anyway. So I
mean, the other thing is that maybe, because one thing I was wondering if maybe this was added, in the volume. No, there's no way he didn't plan the time skip, so was this in the weekly release, or was it only in the volume?
I feel like this would have...
Because, obviously the next chapter is Kakashi
now
Gaiden,
what I'm kind of curious about was, is Kakashi Gaiden, was that published in place of Naruto for the 6 weeks, or whatever chapters it had?
I'm pretty sure it was. Because I remember when I was reading in high school, I just started with Kakashi Gaiden and went into the time skip, so I hadn't fully experienced, the Sasuke Retrieval arc, or even most of the story up to that point. I'd seen quite a few episodes, but not fully until I reread the series a few years ago, but and this is my second time going through that.
Because I do think it's interesting how he has the end of part 1 of Naruto here, and then you get these 6 chapters of Kakashi Gaiden, and then we jump into part 2, which is where everything you get the new character designs and everything.
Well, I like it because it gives it an actual sense of time passing. I remember because One Piece also has a time skip, but reading it weekly, I got that sense of time because there was a 4-month break, or a 4-week break, 1-month break. I mixed it up there. Between the chapter before the time skip and the first chapter of the new time skip. But with Naruto, even if you read it all in one go, if you're reading it weekly, you do get this break before the time skip, a month and a half. But even reading it, you still have to take at least a good 20 minutes or so to read Kakashi Gaiden. So no matter what, you still get a sense of time passing before you see Naruto again, which is kind of interesting. But then we're not talking about Kakashi Gaiden because we haven't read it. We haven't reread it yet. So, overall thoughts on the Sasuke Retrieval arc?
I'd hesitate to call it a middle of the road arc because it definitely hits some of Naruto's highest points. Emotionally at least.
But it's got it's got a good fair bit of lows dragging it down. I feel the same way. It's just, some of the, like, again, this is where it really starts to dawn on me that the fights in Naruto are not generally not good.
Yeah, very kind of one-dimensional in most instances. Like, I mean, sometimes the power interplay can be cool, but just like the way it kind of escalates from start to finish is...
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's very hit or miss. Like Neji and Naruto versus Sasuke are pretty hit. Well, and then again, Shikamaru's was kind of middle of the road, so that's not.
And usually Shikamaru's fights are like some of the more intelligent fights, which is so it's interesting that this one kind of falls a little flat. I guess it was just kind of the power he was going up against wasn't as interesting.
That's exactly because it was summons and she was
and she could like power through his shadow possession, which was odd.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely agree that it's, it does hit some high points, but it's, overall, it's not, it's dragged down by quite a few things. But, it's definitely not, is it the worst? No, it can't.
I don't think it's the worst. Because what is our worst to this point? I think the Zabuza arc we said was the lowest.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I mean, because the tuning exams, like, as far as individual episodes of discussion, like, the second half of the tuning exams would probably be my least favorite social chapters, even compared to the Sasuke Retrieval arc, but as a whole arc, I guess I would have to put the tuning exams above, so... And the Search for Tsunade was decent overall, even though there was some lacking potential, but, it's not... there wasn't really a bad thing. But this definitely had some of the worst stuff in Naruto, like the worst elements in Naruto, but also some of the best elements.
Yeah, because the thing about something like
Wave Country arc is just kind of like fine.
Yeah, the thing about like Wave Country and Search for Tsunade is that like they're okay, but they like don't leave as much of an impact as some of the moments in tuning exams or Sasuke Retrieval. But then they also don't have as like the glaring flaws that those arcs have at points. Like they don't exist.
Exactly. So, I don't know. Having finished part 1, I'm a little worried for what's going to come up, because I feel like we're going to get more Sasuke Retrieval negative parts than tuning exam good parts.
I am especially worried because I know that when I was super into Naruto, it was the upcoming stretch of chapters. I mean, it took me a good while to really finally give up on Naruto, but I'm worried that I'm going to have the exact same reaction.
You held out hope for the longest time.
Because
I don't know, but like I said, this is me enjoying Naruto. I haven't enjoyed Naruto more than I have reading this. But now for the podcast, I hope that stays. Please, I want to keep enjoying Naruto for even a while longer. I mean, I'm just remembering back because this is where I was first. This is I was reading these chapters, or at least the next chapters into the Sasori arc. Some of them as they were coming out. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes.
It'll be interesting to see when we finally get to a character who, if you have a Kimimaro moment where you just can't stand them.
All right, we'll see. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening as usual. Keep them comments coming so we can call you stupid. No, I love you. It's fine.
Get out.
Thanks for listening. Get out.